Hello, everyone, and welcome back to episode 86 of the Salvaggio and Cratty Sports Podcast. If you're in another Wednesday night, 7:30 on the dot, like we said on Twitter. Um, Jersey numbers, just get those out of the way. Kevin Miller, the Kevin Miller episode. Um, Chris Johnson and Semi Erden, both in the 2011 season for the Celtics. Don't remember them. Devin Asiasi, Daniel, and AJ Durden. Not crazy cast of characters this week. Ryan, what's up, dude?
How we doing? It's a very busy day, lots to talk about. I think this is the first time in a while we've got all four sports on hand. Red Sox, Bruins, Celtics, Patriots, NBA, MLB, NFL, and NHL, of course. A lot going on. I find it incredibly hectic that MLB free agency and NFL free agency are hitting it off at the same time, and then you have the trade deadline for the NHL right around the corner. Crazy day trying to keep track of it all. We're going to try to do our best, though, tonight to try to sum some things up and share our thoughts. And like I said, a lot of news that has broken today, broken the other day, and probably will continue to break as we're on. We never really get that luxury of having news break when we're doing anything live. It tends to be about 5 to 10 seconds or minutes after. So hopefully we'll have that tonight.
Yeah, that would be dope, wouldn't it? But yeah, we have a new segment on the podcast. It's going to be called Dickhead Behavior.
Oh yes, this was your idea.
We pick up one thing. It could be the same thing, could be different things across sports from the week in the past, and classify it as dickhead behavior. Give our reasoning and give it a tier on a scale of 1 to 5. 5 being the highest level of dickhead behavior, 1 being the lowest. And to start, the guy who inspired this, Austin Matthews, in the outdoor game between the Leafs and the Sabres. By the way, terrible Leafs jerseys. If they just made, it was either I think it was the font normal. They look good, but the font you can't even see it. Just dumb. Cross checks Rasmus Dahlin 2-game suspension. Surprised the golden boy, Pedo Poppy, as I like to call him, because everybody likes to call him Poppy because of the mustache, but he looks like a pedophile. So I call him Pedo Poppy. Get it trending on Twitter.
Disgusting.
Cross checks Rasmus Dahlin in the head. They're going at it. They did not give him the special treatment, which I love. That's okay. That they did it. Some people out there might be kind of pissed. I'm really not, to be honest with you. I think he deserved it. I don't think they should give players special treatment, and I'm glad they didn't. With Austin Matthews here, really dumb. Could have seriously hurt Dahlin, who I believe has had a concussion or two in the past. Maybe not in the NHL, but he might have when he was developing. I remember hearing a story about that, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. I give this a tier 4 dickhead behavior. I would have gave it tier 5 if he hurt him and or did something additional after, like went for him if he fell to the ground or something, but it's tier 4 dickhead behavior for me. What did you think of the cross check?
I only saw the replay, didn't see it live. Thought it was pretty vicious. Like you, I mean, I was surprised at 2 games, but like you said, you texted me when I was talking to you about it, that it is the first time for Austin Matthews, so I guess he gets a little bit of some leeway. I kind of thought it was more so on the side of, like you mentioned, a name, and like, oh, they're not going to give Austin Matthews a lengthy suspension because he's one of the bigger names in the NHL. But like you said, it makes sense that it's first time thing. Give him, I guess, the minimum that you can, but something that you don't want to see have happen because it was not a gruesome act of, I guess, a violent act is just the best way to describe it. Like, just completely unnecessary, unneeded. Like, but what are you gonna do? He's punished now, and he'll serve his 2 games, and then be right back out there, and hopefully not doing the same thing as before.
Yeah, totally. Agreed on all fronts. What is your dickhead behavior? The first edition.
My question is how many? I only thought we were going 4 tiers. How many tiers is this, and how do we grade it? Because I want to just make sure mine's okay. It is okay. So mine's right in the middle then. I have Bill Belichick and the Patriots. We'll get into the football stuff a little later on. Because like I said, a ton of baseball stuff we need to get to, and then obviously with the Bruins game starting up in a couple minutes, we'll do some hockey stuff as well. But it's Bill Belichick. I mean, anybody that's followed the NFL and free agency, how it's gone today so far, you've seen the Patriots sign some key free agents back, lose some more key free agents. Of course, J.C. Jackson's been the biggest one. They've made some interesting cuts, getting rid of Van Noy, of course. They traded Shaq Mason the other day. They're down, I think, what is it now, 3 offensive linemen from last year's team. Could lose another one with Trent Brown potentially leaving, if that comes to be. We talked about it in past shows, the coaching decisions, Joe Judge coming back to maybe be the offensive coordinator, who knows. Matt Patricia's back for whatever reason. no idea what his job is going to be. We obviously talked last year about, who the defensive coordinator is. I was listening to Felger and Maz today. They were talking about there's a report that Brian Hoyer and Mac Jones are teaching Joe Judge the offense. Like Joe Judge doesn't know how to what plays to call or whatever, which is what that's all about. So we talked about this last show. There was reports out there that there was some belief the Patriots' offseason plans could be, the opposite of last year's, go out and sign a bunch of guys early, and now we're seeing this year not doing that. I think that's well on display so far. They've signed one corner, haven't been in the market. It seems like for anybody, they haven't made really any big moves yet, other than a couple of trades like I mentioned. So like I said, right now for me, it's a tier 3 dickhead behavior from Bill Belichick because every team around you is getting better. It seems like, especially in the AFC and especially within your division. Buffalo's made a couple of massive moves right before we went on, actually, with the Von Miller stuff. It just doesn't make any sense to me. You had a good thing going last year. It seemed like you were building. Now it looks like you're heading in the wrong direction, which we talked before. We've mentioned plenty of times with the now second-year quarterback in Mac Jones, that's not going to look good for him. And if you're going to blow up your offensive line, then it's especially going to be a problem. And I don't get why all of a sudden the Patriots are reverting back into their old ways of going out and getting veteran bums on minimum deals that aren't going to help you in the long run.
Yeah, I'm going to save the rest of my stuff or the genesis of my stuff for the football segment. But totally agree. We got a tier 4 and a tier 3 in week 1 for dickhead behavior.
Off to a hot start.
Respectively. I almost said respectively to correct myself, but no need. Yeah, onto the MLB, though. The lockout's lifted and madness has ensued. MLB Madness, as I'm calling it. Haha. What's going on? There's a lot.
Yeah, so real quick, I mean, it's kind of funny with how, at least to me, I don't know if you feel the same way, with free agency obviously starting up and being as rampant as it has been the last couple of days, makes you maybe forget about the lockout, or maybe a little bit. I'm trying to forget about it, obviously. But a lot of stuff was agreed upon. There's some stuff that's still work in progress. There's a good article on MLB.com from Mark Feinsand that goes more in depth of what was agreed upon and what still needs to be worked on. So people, if they want to find that, can Google that. I'm not going to run through the whole article. I'm going to try to give you the Spark Note version really quick, because like I said, we have a ton of stuff to get into today, including the free agency stuff. So really quick, the breakdown, of course, there will be a 162-game season. Begins on April 7th. Minimum salaries will start at $700,000 this year. Will increase to $780,000 by 2026. The competitive balance tax threshold, that'll start at $230 million and will increase to $244 by 2026. There's $50 million going into the pre-arbitration bonus pool spending. The implementation of a draft lottery, and again, Mark Feinsand gives a better explanation of how that's going to work. Apparently, it's the biggest draft lottery across all 4 major sports. The international draft, that's still going to be a work in progress. I think the date is sometime in June. It might be June 22nd that players and or the Players Association and the MLB have to come to an agreement on that, or some things are going to change. What else is there? Some new rule changes coming in 2023. This was stuff you and I mainly talked about and mainly cared about, for that matter. The pitch clock, bigger bases, banning the shift, that's all going to try to be implemented next season. I think the pitch clock, like we talked about, is going to be about 14 to 17 seconds. Again, bigger bases are looking to increase steals. Banning the shift, we know how we feel about that. The postseason is getting expanded to 12 teams. You and I talked about that last week. I think we both didn't really like that idea, but I guess it makes some sense from revenue standpoints and more teams wanting to get into the playoffs, and you might see some more competitive teams like we see with the Rockies today signing Chris Bryant. The Orioles reportedly are going after Carlos Correa, so maybe they're thinking in a couple of years they could maybe be one of those 12 teams getting in. There is a universal DH this year. That is a great move for baseball, but hurts Red Sox fans like us, because now Kyle Schwarber's market opened way up, and now Kyle Schwarber is gone. He is going to probably DH with the Phillies, which sucks. And then this one I saw originally in the report was they're not going to go back to the runner on second base in extra innings, which, as much as I didn't like that at the start of last year, I came to really like that and thought it worked out well. Apparently they're backtracking on that now, and there's been talks recently that they might try to go back to that. So I'd be fine with that. I don't know if you ever, I can't remember what your stance was on that last year when that came to be a rule, if you were for that or against that, or you didn't like it, you still don't like it, or?
I think if it gets obnoxiously late, yeah.
Okay.
But no, not like right away. The universal DH should have happened so long ago. It's so good. It's easily the thing that sticks out the most. It just makes so much sense. Nobody wants to watch pitchers hit. That's really it. I don't have anything else to add. Like, that's really as simple as it gets.
unless it's a Madison Bumgarner type, or Jake DeGrom, you have a guy like Rick Porcello coming in and
Or John
knocking a bases
Lester,
clearing double,
retirement
or
though.
John Lester, yeah. But yeah, I mean I agree with you 100%. I've been harping on the DH in the National League for multiple years, because I'm with you. It got very tiresome seeing pitchers have to go up and hit in big spots, or even if they're pitching a gem, they have to get pulled out because it's a one-run game or a tie game, and you want to try to obviously take the lead or untie the game. Just it was years in the making that had to happen. For the signings and trades and stuff, again, I'm going to try to quickly run through this, some of the bigger moves that have been made in the offseason. I'll ask you if any of these moves stand out to you. Afterwards, we can talk a little bit about it. Real quick, from a Red Sox standpoint, some people may have missed these, a couple of smaller ones. Martin Perez, he ends up signing with the Rangers. Jose Iglesias, who some people thought may have come back and maybe been the starting second baseman for the Red Sox. He ends up in Colorado. So the Rockies, like I said earlier, making some moves to shore up their infield. Kyle Schwarber, as I just mentioned, signed with the Phillies this morning for 4 years and $79 million. That one hurts. That's perfect reaction by you. The Cubs, who we thought were probably going to go out, or were maybe going to go after Carlos Correa, end up getting Andrelton Simmons on a 1-year deal. So there goes a shortstop off the market. Carlos Rodon goes to the Giants. Clayton Kershaw re-signs with the Dodgers. No surprise there. I know the Rangers were in on him a little bit, but I thought Kershaw was a done deal going back to the Dodgers. Local guy, Steve Cishek, he signs with the Nationals. Yusei Kikuchi goes to the Blue Jays for 3 years. That beefs up an already pretty good rotation that they have. The Blue Jays are getting scarier and scarier by the day. Josh Harrison, he goes to the White Sox along with Joe Kelly. So that bullpen is nasty now with the White Sox having Kelly, I think it's Crochet, Kimbrel, Graveman, and Hendricks that all can throw 100 miles per hour. So good luck to any team in the American League Central. Alex Colomé signs with the Rockies. Brad Hand signs with the Phillies. Ian Kennedy with the Diamondbacks. Nelson Cruz takes advantage of the universal DH. He signs with the Nationals on a 1-year deal. Former Red Sox Adam Ottavino goes to the Mets on a 1-year deal. Andrew McCutchen is going to be the DH for the Brewers. Andrew Chafin, lefty reliever, goes to the Tigers for 2 years. Big one, again, pertaining to the Red Sox this morning, Seiya Suzuki. He ends up with the Cubs, 5 years and $85 million. At first, that was looking like a $5 and $70 million deal, which at first I was like, that stinks. That was pretty affordable for the Red Sox, I thought. But 5 and 85 kind of scares me away a little bit. Obviously, like I said, would have liked Suzuki here. I think you're kind of in the same boat I am there. But he ends up in Chicago, a surprise there. I thought he was going to a surefire fit with the Padres after, like I said, and the TikTok I made a couple days ago, or yesterday, that he was hanging out with the Padres, was taking batting practice at Petco Park. It looked like he was going to want to go there. There were reports that he wanted to stay on the West Coast, obviously, to be closer to Japan. That obviously doesn't come to be, signing with the Cubs. Anthony Rizzo, really no surprise, goes back to the Yankees. That takes them out of the Freddie Freeman market. Colin McHugh goes to the Braves. Eddie Rosario, postseason hero for Atlanta. He re-signs with the Braves earlier today. Zach Greinke went back to where it all started with the Royals. Chris Bryant, like I said, probably about 20 minutes before we went on, he signs a surprise deal with the Rockies for 7 years and $182 million. There's already people I saw on Twitter taking over-unders of how long he'll be there before he ends up shooting his way out and getting traded, like Nolan Arenado did a couple years, or last year actually. And then just before we went on, Jock Peterson, I believe he's a local guy. He ended up signing with the Giants as well. Any of these signings stand out to you more than the other? I know there was one, like I said, that you reacted to pretty poorly. I kind of echo your reaction on the Schwarber stuff, but any surprise ones to you? Any big standouts?
Yeah, Schwarber. I mean, anybody
I
who
think,
knows
yeah, that's
me,
the go-to.
it just sucks so much. I kind of figured
Mm-hmm.
this was going to happen. I feel like Chaim was probably looking at like hopefully 16, 17. He got just shy of 20.
Mm-hmm.
Chaim's not spending over the luxury tax. I don't like that.
Nope.
Just sucks. I didn't even know Iglesias signed with Colorado, to be honest.
Yeah, that one I was just kind of
Joe
scrolling through Twitter
Kelly,
the other day and saw
I
that.
feel like it's a really good fit, like a good like postseason rally cry guy too when they're in the postseason, almost undoubtedly.
Mm-hmm.
Yusei Kikuchi's a nice underrated pickup for the Blue Jays.
Great pickup for Toronto. Yep.
Brad Hand, a guy who's been linked to the Red Sox for like a decade, it feels like, goes to
Mm-hmm.
the Phillies. Um, the Nationals, I mean, they kind of replaced Schwarber in this way with with a big power bat. Um, Ottavino to the Mets, whatever. I mean, he's old. Suzuki to the Cubs, I really don't get it because apparently he liked warmer climates. Why would you want to go to Chicago?
Mm-hmm.
Eddie
That one didn't make
Rosario
a
to the
ton of
Braves
sense. Yeah.
kind of stinks for the Red Sox. Bryant to the Rockies stinks for the Red Sox, and so does Peterson to the Giants. So
Mm-hmm. there's been a ton of trades that have been made too. Again, I'll quickly run through them. The first one, Mitch Garver was traded to the Rangers for Isaiah Kiner-Falefa and a pitching prospect in Ronnie, I believe it's Henriquez. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa did not stay there long. He ends up in New York. I'll get to that one in a second. Chris Bassett beefs up the Mets rotation. Mets might have the best rotation in baseball with him. He goes there as part of Oakland's fire sale for a couple of minor league pitching prospects in JT Ginn and Adam Aller. The Twins, they get Sonny Gray and another prospect, Francis Peguero from Cincinnati, part of their fire sale, for another first-round draft pick, Chase Petty of the Twins, Talking about that Yankees trade, Josh Donaldson, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, and Ben, I think it's Rortvedt, go to the Yankees in return for Gio Urshela and Gary Sanchez. Funny part of that deal, being a Red Sox fan, is the Yankees are going to pay all of Josh Donaldson's $50 million remaining over the next 2 seasons. So have fun with that contract. The big one that freed Freddie Freeman from Atlanta, Matt Olson, in a surprise, goes to the Braves for a bunch of prospects: Christian Pache, Shea Langeliers, Ryan Cusick, and Joey Estes. The Reds continue their fire sale by sending both Jesse Winker and Eugenio Suarez to the Mariners for Justin Dunn, Brandon Williamson, outfielder Jake Fraley, and a player to be named later. Earlier today, like I said, the Blue Jays, they're loading up. Their lineup is deadly. They get Matt Chapman from Oakland for right-handed pitching prospect Gunnar Hoglund, infielder Kevin Smith, left-handed pitcher Zach Logue, and left-handed pitcher Kirby Snead. And then earlier today, in kind of a weird move that didn't make a ton of sense, a 1-for-1 deal between the Reds and the Royals. The Reds give up Amir Garrett. The Royals, in return, send left-handed pitcher Mike Minor. Obviously, the couple that stand out to me, the Yankees trade, a weird one. Like, Gio Urshela, to me, is the best player in that deal, and the Yankees gave him up. Like, that's a guy that's pretty versatile, can play third, can play short. Kiner-Falefa's versatile. He's a good defender, won a Gold Glove for the Rangers a couple years ago. But, like, the Donaldson thing is interesting to me. It takes them out of the Correa running, obviously, with Kiner-Falefa going to play short. Money-wise, it probably makes it tough. I think they're out on Freddie Freeman now. So a strange deal there. I know probably Yankees fans are probably happy to get rid of Gary Sanchez. They won't have to defend him anymore as, being arguably one of the worst catchers in baseball. And then the big one, obviously, the Olsen trade to Atlanta, like I said, kind of shuts down any return of Freddie Freeman, as we've seen over the last couple hours. A lot of the reports are Freeman, it's the Dodgers, the Padres, the Red Sox. To me, that's an interesting one, Matt Olson, and obviously they extended him, I think, for, 8 years and $168 million. So they get Olson, they keep him, obviously, long-term. But like I said in the TikTok yesterday, to me, it just would have made more sense to re-sign Freddie Freeman. Like, he's been the face of that franchise for a decade now. He's a proven guy. Not that Matt Olson isn't proven. What'd you say?
He's been there for 15 years, too.
That's what I mean. I watched an interview with him after he won the World Series, and he mentioned it himself. Like, I've been here since he was 19 years old or whatever it was. So, like, that's a huge blow from just a talent standpoint, from a personality standpoint, obviously, what he meant to that team. So, I can't imagine they're going to miss much of a step, replacing him with Matt Olson. But, like, that's a little bit of a head-scratcher one for me, why you wouldn't just re-sign him and then keep the prospects. Olson, yeah, I think he's mid-20s, so it makes sense from that standpoint, but to me, like, I feel like Freddie Freeman's a guy for them. Like, I feel like fans probably feel the same way. Like, he's a guy you thought they would have kept. Yeah. I mean, he's done pretty much everything that he can for that franchise, but, like, he's a guy, like I said, like, it feels criminal that he's not going to go out and retire Atlanta Brave.
He could.
Yeah, if they want to, might be tough, but
I
did see a wild thing
there. Still just sign a 1 day.
That's true. Could come back. But I was going to say, I did see a crazy thing that the Braves, with how well they've mortgaged their money and their contracts, I think are only paying the combination of Olsen, Acuna, and Albies like $30 million this year, or like $40 million between the three of them with their annuals. Like, that's insane for those three players, three of the best of their position. But yeah, any trades? I know I kind of ran through them quickly. Stand out for you?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Kiner-Falefa is going to be the next Yankee that everybody's going to gas up. Think he's awesome. I've heard great things about Chris Bassett. Don't know a ton about him.
Very good. He's probably
Matt
the ace,
Olson,
or was the ace of the A's.
The A's are just absolutely tearing it down. So are the Reds. I was so shocked to see Jesse Winker get traded, because didn't he have like a ridiculous season last year?
Yeah, he was an all-star for the first time. I could have sworn he was getting some MVP consideration early on.
330, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was best year batting average wise, ton of power this year. Like,
I don't know, Chief. I don't know.
Sucks to be a Reds fan right now. Like you said, they
Um,
are ripping that team apart. And
Christian Pache tweeting about like how he's heartbroken that he's been traded. Like
yeah, you had some
he started to
interesting.
love the Braves fans, and he
Mhm,
hadn't played for him, but he just loved the community. It seemed, and was really blindsided by it.
mhm. You were
Yeah,
telling
I
me you
mean
didn't think that was a great look for him. I don't
it.
know if you want
It's
to
kind of
get
like
into that or.
the wording of it is a little weird because it makes it seem like he's like dreading going to the Rangers more so
Mhm,
than it is
or the
he's
A's.
like gonna miss the Braves. But like I don't know, it's
Mhm,
not like a bad look, but it was just a little worded a little weird at times, and it was kind of just surprising to see a tweet like that because it's so
mhm,
uncommon. Right now the Blue Jays are my pick to win the World Series. They're just so good, and it seems like they might get even better. Um,
mhm.
I think this team could win 105, 107 games. Um, they're so good. They're
They're
so good.
definitely the
It's
team to beat in the
ridiculous.
American League
If
East
they get
right now. I
Kenley
mean,
Jansen too, oh my God,
mhm. Well,
like
that's the
that's
thing.
just even better. You get Freeman maybe. Like look
Mhm.
out, we might have one of the best lineups in the history of the league.
Oh, I don't know if you saw earlier today. They've checked in with the Guardians about Jose Ramirez.
Oh yeah, that
So
too.
that would be ridiculous. I mean, I feel like you'd have to trade some pieces off your major league roster. So maybe a guy like Lourdes Gurriel Jr. goes back or Kevin Biggio. But if you can put an infield together of Matt Chapman, a Platinum Glover at third base, you have Bichette, who's up and coming at short, one of the best shortstops in baseball, soon to be in the next couple of years. You have obviously Guerrero, who would have won MVP if Shohei Ohtani didn't exist last year at first base, and then if you can bring in Ramirez to play second. And oh, by the way, when I was thinking about it earlier, I forgot they had George Springer. They got him last offseason, so he's still there. Like that's a pretty potent lineup. At least one. I completely forgot about Teoscar Hernandez. He's a guy that can hit 40 home runs at will. Like
Mm,
that lineup is stacked up and down. And then even like their soft spots, Grichuk and Danny Jansen aren't
yeah.
slouches at all either. So
Real quick,
that Toronto will be a team to watch.
I did not mortgage my bladder well after dinner, so I got to pee while you go into the
Okay.
Red Sox signings a little bit. I'll be quick.
All right. Thank you for
All right.
sharing.
You're
All right,
welcome.
I'll get into it. So yes, like Mike said, the Red Sox they did make two signings that while he is gone, I will share my thoughts on. We'll get his when he comes back. I like both deals. I like Matt Strom. I like Jake Diekmann. I have been high on Jake Diekmann for quite some time now. I made the joke, I believe, on Twitter that every year I did a Red Sox franchise and MLB The Show, I would sign Jake Diekmann because he's just that level of nasty. Quickly on Matt Strom, for the people that are listening that don't really know a lot about him, he is a former San Diego Padre, signed a 1 year, $3 million deal. Is coming off an injury. He underwent patellar knee surgery in 2020, only appeared in, I believe it was 6 games last year, might have been less. Real quick, I'll check that. Yeah, 6 games for the Padres, had an 8.10 ERA, so that might not be the sexiest thing on paper, but if you look at his career numbers, he's been pretty solid. A 3.81 career ERA, 9.5 Ks per nine in 6 seasons. To me, he seems to fit the versatile arms role that the Red Sox are going with, and with Chris Sale now going down with an injury that I'll get into in a little bit, it seems like Strom's a guy that's probably going to have to eat some innings if he can stay healthy. Like I said, pretty versatile. He's appeared in 132 relief appearances, a 9-14 record with a 2.90 ERA, 25 games as a starter, 4-10 with a 5.08. So he's primarily going to be a guy out of the bullpen. For his pitch mix, like I said, he's versatile there as well. 5 pitches as a reliever: a fastball, slider, curveball, sinker, and changeup. His curveball and slider are his two best pitches. Mike is back, as I can see. Your thoughts, as I just kind of briefly went into, or quickly rather, went into the signing of Matt Strom. You like him? You're a little gun shy with the injuries coming off of. Like I said, a guy that has had some success, but that injury, I think, is something that'll have to obviously be monitored as the season goes on.
Yeah, I gotta be honest. I didn't know he existed until we signed him.
Fair enough.
Um, I saw something. I actually want to double check this in his stats. Yeah, I saw someone said like I saw like a 6.83 ERA attached to him in a tweet. Maybe it's like his average over a certain period of time, but it doesn't look like it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the 2.61 put it down to the 8.10 with that one loss last year.
Mm-hmm.
Put it back up, 6 appearances. I don't know. I saw something with like a 6.83, so I was confused. Like, oh, this guy sucks. Great. But he looks pretty solid looking at him. Um, I like it. I mean, I just I just feel like we've talked a lot over the past few years about the bullpen, and to see them being proactive with cheap, good signings,
Mm-hmm.
correlating with Bloom's approach, not wanting to break the bank. Maybe he can, shell out a little bit for Kenley Jansen, though. That'd be a real difference maker that I would like
That
to
would be the
see.
one big. Yep.
A guy that can win. He's won World Series now, or
Mm-hmm.
two, one, two,
Jansen's 1-1.
one. I don't know why I was
Nope.
thinking two. Um, yeah, I like him from what I've read about him. The injuries, I don't really feel a huge reason to be concerned because I don't know a lot about the player until now.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just something to monitor with the injury history. But I mean, I'm not gonna worry about it until he gives me a reason to. As a
Exactly.
Red Sox, so
Like I was
as a
saying while you
Red
were gone.
Sox, I see people say as a Red Sox. It should
Oh,
be
I have
Red
no
Sox.
idea.
That's
I think
goofy.
it's yeah.
It's
The
goofy.
one thing I was saying while you were gone, I think you were coming back as I was finishing up my thought, is the big thing with Strom, to me at least, is he seems like and this has been the same thing with position players the Red Sox have signed over the last couple of years, is they seem to want to go for versatile guys. And like I mentioned, I have the stats obviously in the outline that you can see and read. He's a guy that can do both. He's probably going to have to, or I don't know if he's probably going to have to. He might have to at times, maybe step into an opener role with now the Sale injury, depending on which way the Red Sox want to go. I primarily, again, the stats back it up that he's been a better reliever in his career, ERA wise. I would just keep him in the bullpen, make him, maybe one of those first guys out of the bullpen. Like I thought Matt Andriese would be last year, but I think this is a better option than Matt Andriese. Let me get that out of the way first. But I don't know.
How hard to
I'm with
do.
you. We've talked about in the past that the Red Sox, we've wanted them to sign free agents and some bona fide free agent relievers in the past, guys that we know can help the bullpen. And to see them do that, it seemed like right out of the gate. Obviously, they've slowed a little bit down now, which is kind of frustrating. But to get him and then to get, like I said, the next guy to get into Jake Diekmann, who, like I said, I'm very high on. I've been for quite some time. He's one of those guys that when we talked in the past, I was like, oh, Jake Diekmann's out there. He's a pretty nasty lefty. He'd be a lefty Chris Sale out of your bullpen because he arguably has a better slider than Chris Sale does in some people's eyes. Can touch the upper 90s with a fastball as well, too. Also has a pretty good sinker that hits the high 90s and changeup for his pitch mix to go into a little bit. He's a guy I thought would have been perfect for years to come in that bullpen, or years prior in that bullpen. A guy that has had some closing experience, only 14 saves, but can work late in games. A career 3.73 ERA in 529 games. They get him for 2 years and $8 million. This is the perfect deal for me. I mean, if there were talks today, I think Matt Barnes said it. He wants to be able to regain the closer role. Obviously, we don't know what Garrett Whitlock is going to be, if he's going to be a starter this year, if he slots back into that late inning role he kind of picked up late in the season. Diekmann's a guy that gives him another option there. There's obviously some questions about, Josh Taylor, his consistency, if he can keep it up late in the season. I think the signing of both these guys maybe put a little pressure on Austin Davis and definitely Darwinson Hernandez to kind of get himself figured out. We saw what he kind of turned into late in the season and how untrustworthy he could be late in games. Diekmann's a guy that at times can get a little wild, but he's much more of a solid option in my opinion if you want to go with a late inning lefty kind of matchup guy. And he pitches well against righties too. Last year, righties only hit 200 against him. So he's a guy that has success when it comes to either hitter. Out of the two deals, he's the one I like the more so because obviously, like I said, there's more control as well. But again, a guy that I've been asking for a while, and to finally get him is great for me.
Yeah, before we get there, we have some breaking news for the live show. Deal isn't done, but Calle Yarncroke will be moved from the Seattle Kraken to the Calgary
that's not baseball.
Flames. Draft pick likely isn't going back. I know it isn't baseball, but just for live, if anybody didn't
No, I
see
know.
it,
I was just
we'll
when you said
drop it.
breaking news, I was hoping it was Freddie Freeman. Sorry.
Calle Yarncroke is going to the Flames, probably like a third or fourth round pick, maybe a second if the Flames are desperate enough, but I don't think so. So we have another trade. Maybe Ben Sherratt will be next. We'll keep you posted if that is true. I like Diekmann. I've heard really good things about Diekmann since he signed, even things over the past 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I like him. Good veteran option. Could, be versatile, come out of the bullpen or start. It sounds like. Yeah, works for me. I'll take it. Couple
All right.
southpaws.
Fair. I'm with you. Like I said, agreeing with you though. I think if you have to go get one more guy in the bullpen, maybe they lean more.
Oh boy! Speaking of Ben
Oh,
Sherratt, Ben Sherratt is
did he
going to the Florida
literally just get
Panthers.
dealt? No.
To the Florida Panthers. Dumb Panthers. Dumb. That's probably the best fit for him though, in terms of players that can cushion him because he's not
Mm-hmm.
very good. He takes a lot of penalties, but they could surround him with Aaron Ekblad, Mackenzie Weegar, Radko Gudas. That'd be pretty dumb because they both take a lot of bad penalties. Ben Sherratt is going to the Florida Panthers. We do not know. Elliot Friedman, 19 seconds ago. Now probably about a minute. Haven't refreshed it. We
Exactly
got
a
some
minute.
trades.
Yep.
We got some trades. Maybe we'll have a Bruins one. Good.
Maybe. The only Bruins
That
news I have
means
for you is they're down 1-0.
the Bruins are not getting Ben Sherratt. That's one of the main things I wanted. Hell yes. And I didn't have
Keeping the
faith on the
Chikrin deal alive.
I didn't have faith in the Kent Hughes, I think it is, the new Canadian GM trading someone to the Bruins. So, for obvious reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I imagine sounds like they'll probably get a first round pick that's been speculated in another piece, which is really dumb, but good for the Canadians. Good piece of business. I imagine they get a first and a prospect or something like that, or a first and a late pick. What
Mm-hmm.
is next for baseball as we segue back into that?
The segue I was going to go into is you talked about, obviously a bullpen arm, and I said maybe Kenley. You mentioned it as well. Maybe Kenley Jansen's a guy that could be on the radar. I think if you want to really shore up the bullpen, get a bona fide closer, because like I said, Matt Barnes, although he wants to take the closer role back, I don't know how we feel about that. So Kenley Jansen would be my guy. Maybe though, after the news that came out today about Chris Sale, the Red Sox might want to lean towards going out and getting a starter that might be left available. There are some decent options as well, but if you missed it, Chris Sale earlier this morning in the bevy of moves and bevy of news that came out pertaining to the Red Sox with guys like I mentioned, Schwarber, Suzuki, all those guys signing. More bad news came in Chris Sale. Apparently, he has a stress fracture in his right rib cage that was suffered when he was doing that Florida Gulf Coast University live BP, I think it was a couple weeks ago. So here we go again with Chris Sale not being ready for opening day. After that, Alex Cora named Nathan Eovaldi the opening day starter, which I feel like was kind of a given. Like there was really no other option, at least to me. Eovaldi was a guy obviously that pitched pretty much all last season, pitched well. But I don't know. Do you have any overarching thoughts? I've seen a lot of people bring back out the argument for Chris Sale that the contract, the extension definitely isn't worth it now. I think, I was one of the people that was against that because he helped you get a World Series. So in the end, that trade, the extension works out. After this, again, today he was asked about, I'm not going to go really deep into it, but the vaccination question came back up again. He said he's still not vaccinated, so even if he was healthy, he can't pitch in Toronto still. Just to mention real quick, the Red Sox, if he stays unvaccinated, their final series is in Toronto. We just mentioned how nasty and how dangerous of a team Toronto is, so that could come back into play. But a lot going on with Chris Sale right now. Obviously, it stinks for him that he's hurt again. But where are you at with Chris Sale? Because like I said, I've seen a lot of people that are like, I'm done with this guy. The contract's a bust. I think that's a definite argument you can make now. Obviously he can't stay healthy. There were some questions about that when the extension was signed. But I'm rambling. What are your thoughts on the whole Chris Sale thing? Are you optimistic that he'll figure some things out? Or are you more on the pessimistic side that this is not looking good as the years go on with him?
I'm on the pessimistic side because,
Okay, I think
I
that's
could
fair.
care less if he's not vaccinated. To be
Mm-hmm.
honest, I'm vaccinated, but
As am I. Yep.
it's a choice. It's a choice. It's not the best one for the team, but it's his
Mm-hmm.
personal choice. He has the right. Trent Frederick is fighting Brendan Duhame right now in
I
the
saw
Bruins game.
that.
Yeah, but I mean, he's just not helping himself. It's just a guy
It's
that's really
starting to
dealing with a lot of
snowball.
injuries over the past few years with the Tommy John, now the stress fracture in the rib. Not good for a pitcher.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks. It just really sucks, but you gotta keep him around at least for this year because he's so effective when he is healthy. If he
Mm-hmm.
can keep that effectiveness and the injury doesn't hamper him. Um, but you gotta see what you can get from him when he comes back because you have a big hole if you don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, right now, you're definitely, as I mentioned, there's thoughts on maybe Whitlock can start. Now, I think you're going to get a good look at that in spring training if they decide to go that way. Right now, the rotation as it stands is probably going to be Eovaldi, or it's going to be Eovaldi as your opening day starter, but there's some questions after that. Pivetta probably slots in as your two. You have Rich Hill that came in. You pretty much know what he is at this point in his career. Michael Walker, at least to me, is a big question mark. If he can, you know, garner some of that success he had last year, if, he kind of turns into the guy he was at the end of the season. It was pretty hittable. And then you have guys, like I said, like Houck and Whitlock, who maybe are going to be looked at as, openers type of long inning guys in the bullpen. Do they now, or rather, does Houck go back into his main starter role and then Whitlock comes in after that? Or do they kind of try to, like I said, work as openers? You don't have James Paxton until the second half of the season. He's still coming back from Tommy John surgery. There are some External options, some guys I have listed here, maybe they could take a flyer on. Guys like Matt Boyd, Zach Davies, Michael Pineda is an interesting one to me. Tyler Anderson, who was traded to the Mariners last year, pitched okay for them. I'm worried. I saw his name sitting there on the free agent list that maybe they
Why, dude?
overreact and
Why?
bring Garrett Richards back just because
Why?
he's there. I hope not, but again, it would go into their, they like versatility. He can start, he can relieve. I would hate
Dude,
that if that was the
no
move, but it
chance.
wouldn't
There's no
surprise me.
chance they bring him back. There's
It
no
wouldn't
chance.
wouldn't surprise me if they get him on a
There
cheap
is no
deal.
chance. There is no
Like,
chance.
I hope not. I hope you're right, but they've done some wonky things in the past that have made some fans aggravated, and that could add to the list as well if they bring him back. Again, like I'm kind of hoping some crap team like the Orioles swoops in and is like, we need a legitimate starter. Like we need more rotation help than you do, so we'll take him off your hands. And not give the Red Sox a chance to re-sign him, but who knows? Like I said, I saw that he was still available. I'm like, oh no, if they go out and get somebody, this is going to be the guy they bring in, just because they know what they
Stop,
obviously have in him.
please.
But I mean, if shit, you've known me for how long? My predictions usually are never right when it comes to things like these. So hopefully
Yeah.
that's as you. Oh, I should say my prediction is the opposite tends to happen. So if I say they will re-sign him maybe, and hopefully they won't. The last Red Sox thing, really quick, before we jump into all the other stuff. Like I said, Freddie Freeman, he's still out there. He's a name you and I. If we had to choose between Kyle Schwarber and Freddie Freeman, equal maybe in our minds. Maybe Freeman was a little better, but now that choice is easier. With the Red Sox apparently in on Freeman, of course, not being able to get Schwarber. There's been a lot of reports about Freeman today. John Heyman earlier in the day had the Red Sox remain very much in the mix for superstar first baseman Freddie Freeman as the Yankees and Jays fall out of the bidding with their other acquisitions, obviously being Rizzo and Chapman. The Rays and Dodgers have interest in well. There's been reports that the Padres have checked in on Freeman. That's kind of terrifying to me, at least, for a couple reasons. Freeman is a California guy, so that obviously puts the Dodgers and Padres right at the top of his list if he wants to go home. Some other John Heyman stuff from this afternoon saying we're going around. The Rays are being aggressive in Freddie Freeman talks. Hard to believe they are all in on a free agent superstar to begin with. If they can outbid the Dodgers and Red Sox and everyone else, that would be something. And then Jim Bowden earlier in the afternoon said multiple executives believe that Freddie Freeman and his representatives may have overplayed their hand, so it'll be interesting to see his final contract, and he hashtagged the Rays, Dodgers, Padres, and Red Sox. So I think obviously those are the final four teams. It seems like, I don't know if we're going to get like a mystery team report that we like that seems to happen from, when it's big name free agents like this. My question to you though is, are you confident in the Reds, or how confident rather are you in the Red Sox ability to bring him in, or do you think he's probably headed out west to the Dodgers or the Padres, somewhere like that? Or do you think maybe the Rays could swoop in and steal him from the big markets?
I'm going Dodgers or Rays.
Okay.
I'm saying no to the Red Sox, holding out hope, though, because of the luxury tax thing. The Rays have no indication that I've seen that they aren't willing to shell out, and the Dodgers throw money at everybody. So
that's true.
And he's from California. I think he's going to go to the Dodgers.
That's, like I said, that's my worry is as soon as you hear the Dodgers and the Padres interested, I know the Padres are trying to shop Eric Hosmer, so that would obviously open up a spot for Freeman to play first base there. Makes too much sense to me if he wants to go home, maybe get his final contract and play out the rest of his career, obviously where he lives, where he's from, then that would make a ton of sense. Part of me is holding out hope the Red Sox sign him because, like I said, there's still a clear need. And I know I've seen some people argue that, if you bring Freddie Freeman in, that kind of blocks Tristan Casas coming up next season, or maybe at the end of this season even. I talked about this with you off air as I kind of get my closing thoughts here. It's a deal that makes a ton of sense to me. I mentioned it. You have Casas coming up. Why wouldn't you bring in, a superstar, a guy that we talked about it off air right before we jumped on? He's pretty much, you said it, he's proven everything. He's an all-star. He's a World Series winner, MVP. He's a superstar caliber first baseman. That to me is the perfect guy to have a guy like Casas learn from. JD Martinez is a free agent at the end of next season. Maybe you let him walk if you bring Freeman in at the end of next year. You can DH Casas. Maybe, I know Casas, I think, was drafted as a third baseman. If you want to maybe DH Devers. I'm just spitballing here. Like I said, when I saw people were like, oh, you're going to block the Casas kid, he's versatile. I thought I saw last year they were trying him out in the outfield at times in Pawtucket, or he was getting some reps out there.
I don't want that kid in the outfield. He's too big.
No, I know, but I'm just saying, like, there's you can maneuver around this if you want to bring in a talent like Freddie Freeman. Like the people that were like, no, we can't bring Freeman in because we have Dahlbeck at first base now and Casas coming up. Like Casas is at least a year and a half away, maybe less. But again, like it makes sense to me. You need a bat in the middle of the lineup now that Schwarber's gone. Freeman's the best available option. He fits a need. He can help you out in multiple ways. Just having that guy, like I said, is a proven winner, veteran type of voice in the clubhouse makes a lot of sense to me. And I'm like I said, I've been high on Freddie Freeman for as long as I can remember now. Like he's a dream scenario here, but part of me just thinks it's the Dodgers or the Padres. I don't think the Rays are gonna get too involved. I think as time goes on and maybe he is still sitting on decisions, I think the Rays might bow out because I can't imagine they're gonna be able to get into a bidding war with the likes of the three horses that are in this race right now.
Yeah, we'll see. He's the big guy that everybody's waiting for besides Correa at this point. Story. I think the Angels should be all over Story. Personally, are we good to go on to Patriots and NFL
Yes,
news?
we are. I'm just refreshing really quick. I guess I'm gonna be refreshing all night. Hopefully that news of Freddie Freeman to the Red Sox breaks. Won't hold out hope though, but who knows? Maybe I'll be
We'll see.
surprised and I can lose my mind on this if they sign him.
All right, Mike is gonna get angry.
Yeah, I don't know how you couldn't with how this has gone on lately.
Everything continues to
Mike's
be
getting upset.
crazy in the NFL, besides for the Patriots. Let's recap, shall we? Second
Let's
round
do it.
tender on Jacoby Myers. Gunnar
I like that
Olszewski
move.
gone.
I like that move.
Fine with me. Devin McCourty back.
That's a good move.
Me too. Brian Hoyer, otherwise known as the
It's a
offensive
questionable
coordinator
move.
for the next
Yeah,
2 years and beyond.
yeah, that's a good move then in that case.
That is why he is signed. I wouldn't be
Yep.
surprised if Jarrett Stidham is the backup next year and Hoyer is literally there to help call plays.
Just inactive all game.
Matt Slater, 1 year, good. Nick Folk,
Solid
2
move.
years. Would have
Good.
preferred 1, but 2 years is fine.
Yep.
James White, 2 years, very good.
Very surprised. I was surprised he came
Very
back.
excited to see what Mac
Mhm.
Jones can do with James White. Very, very excited. We have a disgustingly good running game. Brandon Bolden, in turn, gone. Jakob Johnson, gone. Both to Vegas. Ted Karras.
Kind of interesting there.
Not gonna say I called it, but I called it. He had a market. He definitely had a market. Cashes out with the Cincinnati Bengals along with Alex Kappa. Big moves on the line
Hmm.
for the Bengals and Joe Burrow. Bet he's pretty pumped. J.C. Jackson.
This is where he's gonna lose it. I will lose it more on Ted Karras. Real quick before you go into yours, I'll get my thoughts out of the way because Evan Lazar had a really mind-numbing comment that I wanted to really, like I said, quickly get my thoughts on. He said, "quote The Patriots initially offered Karras 3 years, $15 million. Dropped that offer to 3 years, $13 million. They wanted Karras back, but didn't expect his market to be as competitive as it was. You just said it. Joe Burrow is probably happy that he's there." To me, that's just typical Patriots acting like the Patriots. Like, how do you not think solid? He's what 30 years old, I think, maybe late 20s. Has proven in the past he can start at guard, can start at center. He did that for the Dolphins, so he's pretty damn versatile on that line. How are you that stupid when you have a team that you see in the Bengals arguably lost the Super Bowl because their offensive line was a sieve towards the end of that, or just that game entirely, and towards the end of this, or all season long? How do you not think a team like that's going to be? And obviously they end up getting him, but to say that you didn't think Ted Karras' market was going to be as big as it was is just typical idiotic Patriots undervaluing their players that have some pretty damn good value.
I don't think that's it with Karras. I think they were
No.
just prepared to move on from him.
Okay.
Prepared to give Onwenu a shot. Will Sherman, if he sticks around as a rotational piece on the line, you can get him developing a little bit. Maybe that freaking CFL kid, David Desjardins, sounds like David Desjardins, should be playing for the Montreal Canadiens. J.C. Jackson, I mean, 16.5 million is so reasonable for J.C. Jackson. He could have got 20. He could have got more than Ramsey, which is like would be like 21 plus or 20.5 plus. This sucks, and it's because they didn't have cap space because they spent too much last year. They haven't cut Aguilar or traded him yet. I honestly just cut Aguilar at this point.
Haven't cut N'Keal Harry for some reason. That saves you 1.3. I know it's not a lot, but like you're strapped for cap space. Like that should have been an easy decision.
They're definitely still holding out hope that they can trade Harry, but that's just really dumb.
Then they're stupid.
It has
idiotic.
to be. It has to be if they haven't done it. Nelson Aguilar. Let's see the dead money. If you, why is this taking so long? I mean, what are we doing? We're making cap space with the Mason trade, only to sign Terrence Mitchell so far, who is on a good team, a fourth-string corner at this point in his career. He's 29, just entering that era of starting to decline in the early 30s.
It's been on 16s in 7 years. That right there is telling enough for me.
He sucks. He sucks. He
Like
sucks.
like I said to you,
That's your lateral move.
nope.
We're gonna sign Joe Hayden or Casey Hayward, who are both cooked next. I'm so discouraged right now. I really
Mm,
am. If you cut Nelson Aguilar, it's 10 million. You save 4.8. Do it at this point if
I'm
you can't
fine with
trade him.
that.
Do it at this point because it doesn't sound like he's in the future. Maybe that's only if you get Robbie Anderson or someone
I was gonna
else.
say you have to
Um,
get another receiver in here first, and it's got to be like a bona fide guy. You can't go into the draft and hope you get a receiver there, and God forbid your guy gets taken before you. Then you're kind of stuck with nothing if you cut Aguilar before that and then don't get anybody. But yeah, I mean, I'm not as upset about
it's just
Jackson as you are because I
hold on
figured.
a sec, hold on a sec. Um, this I think I saw something that it might have been guaranteed money. That's just ridiculous. Guaranteed money like isn't a crazy thing when you have a number one corner. You shouldn't be worried about guaranteed money unless he wants
Mhm.
like 60 of 82 and a
Yeah,
half.
something ridiculous. Yep.
That this is just ridiculous. It's a total mess up by Belichick. Could have used a better word there. You trade Gilmore for a 6 round pick. You don't get anything for Jackson. Um, it's terrible. It's terrible. Our secondary is going to be so bad. You can't
Mhm.
expect a first or second round corner to come in and save you next year. You need to make a trade for a corner. You need to do something. Really, it sounds like on the trade market they're looking at Lyle Collins, which I'd be fine with. He's been the best graded offensive tackle on the right side for the past 2-3 seasons. Fine with me, but you can't fit him either unless you move some
Mhm.
salary out of the deal. Maybe Nelson Aguilar to the Cowboys. They lose Amari Cooper. There's an idea that I literally just thought of.
They lost Cedric Wilson too, didn't
This
they?
sucks. This is so fucking maddening with the Patriots that they are fucking this up.
Mhm.
God damn it. Like 16
No,
and a half. Make the cap space sooner. Like do something. Like you gotta move quicker.
Mhm.
It's just crazy. It's crazy how they didn't seemingly, we don't know all the details. They didn't work harder to make this happen.
Mhm.
To my knowledge, I don't know how realistic this is. They could have went over the cap and made a move after. I don't know how legal that is, but
I feel like that's something you should be able to do. Yeah, it
yeah,
shouldn't be too
maybe. I
hard
mean,
to
like the going into free agency, the
tell the
Saints were
league
like
we're
80
doing this,
million in
but yeah.
cap hell. They're even now, from what I saw
Mhm.
from Nick Underhill, who was a reporter for them, used to be for the Patriots. Um, this just sucks. I mean, we have a terrible secondary. You let a team that's already got Khalil Mack, and I think they might have signed someone else for depth too. No, they lost Uchenna Uwosu or Kwosu. I forget what his last
No,
name
but
is. Good
there is another
linebacker.
defensive player they brought in. I can't
He
remember
went
who
to
it is now.
Seattle. Seattle's having a better offseason than the Patriots are.
Put it this
Um,
way: the Jaguars are having a better, minus
Jaguars
maybe
having a
one
better
signing
offseason.
that we'll get
You are
into in a
giving a
second. Like,
competing team that you're probably
mhm.
competing for a wild card next year with, and the charge at this rate. Maybe not though. They could win that division. They got Derwin James, Asante Samuel Jr., and now J.C. Jackson in the secondary. If Derek
That
Stingley
team's
falls,
loaded up
or
and down.
if another corner falls, they could just say screw it and take best player available, get Sauce Gardner or Derek Stingley Jr. or Trent McDuffie or Andrew Booth, any corner, and just be disgusting
Yep,
and have the best secondary in the league. Teams around you are getting better. You're doing nothing because you had a bad offseason last year
they're
where you
getting
did too
worse.
much. You did a lot of good, but you did some bad that is looking bad right now. Could change. The Bruins just scored. Craig Smith.
Craig Smith's
Um,
on a scoring tear.
Over to you. Over to you. Over to you. I'm talking too much, but I had
No,
to.
the one thing about J.C. Jackson that I was gonna differ on you, I'm not as mad as you are, is because when we talked about this a couple weeks ago, like I was fully, I think you were too, but I was fully just he's gone. Like it's either I'm
I
with you,
know,
echo the
but
same points
dude,
that
this money was so reasonable.
it
I was
was.
thinking
Yeah,
he was gone at
that's the
18
aggravating
minimum.
part. But
18
like I
minimum.
said, I'm more aggravated at
Oh my
the Ted
god.
Karras move than I am the J.C. Jackson because it seemed like to
That's
me they were
crazy to me.
never
I'm
interested
sorry.
in
That's
bringing out.
crazy to me.
Oh,
That's crazy to
what did
me.
we talk about last year? What was one of the strengths of this team? It was their offensive line. We thought, obviously
Yeah, but
they're
you
going to
can
be
get it.
solid there. And
You can have Onwenu step in. You can draft a guard.
no,
Maybe
I
they were
know,
looking
but
at
like,
a guy I think to watch out for. Gonna throw a draft name out there at Georgia today. Probably looking at all their defensive guys and Jamari Sawyer, who's probably second or third line offensive guard that I could absolutely see them taking at this point. He's a
mhm,
mean offensive lineman. He plays hard, plays aggressive. Um, He's not just a guy that's going to be a pillow on the offensive line. From what I've heard, plays with some aggressiveness. I love
Mm-hmm.
Jamari Sawyer at this point. If a certain offensive tackle were to fall too, maybe like Nicholas Petit Frere, but I don't think he'll fall. I don't like
Mm-hmm.
Sean Ryan out of UCLA. I think he tested pretty terribly at the combine in some areas. Don't like that. Um, it's a major faux pas. It's a product of being too aggressive last year after you lost Brady. Tom Brady essentially in a way started all of this because they wanted to get back at him.
Yeah,
They
he
wanted to
did.
get back at competing, and now they can't because they're handcuffed. They signed two tight ends, which we should have known could have been bad. We didn't talk about it as much
Mm,
because let's be honest, Jonnu Smith, I talked about this a little bit, I will say, wasn't good enough to justify that 100%. He was good. He was the top one of the top guys in the market, but they did overpay for him, and that was the thing from the start if you know enough
mm.
about the player. Um,
Well, they should have
but it
signed
just
one
looks
tight
worse
end, not
now,
two.
obviously. Yeah,
Mm.
agreed. You could have
Maybe
at
they
least
didn't
signed
think
a
they were going to be
cheaper
able to
tight
get
end.
both, but
Signed Henry and a cheaper tight end, whoever that
yeah,
could have been.
yeah. Yep.
Um, like look at what CJ Uzama got this year too. 3 years, 24 million from the Jets. Why
Mm.
why did Johnny Smith at that point get so much more than CJ Uzama? I'm taking
Because he.
CJ Uzama on the Bengals over Johnny Smith in his last year on the Titans any day, and he got half the money on
Mm.
one less year. Brutal. Up
Mm.
next,
Yeah,
a
there's a
great
couple of deals
move.
that look bad. Yeah.
A great move. Chase Winovich for Mac Wilson. The Browns are probably going to lose Jadeveon Clowney. They get a guy who's an outside linebacker, hybrid edge rusher. We get an inside linebacker that we need. A Bama guy. We lead the league. We lead the league in guys named Mac with either a C or a K at the end from Alabama. So suck on that, NFL. Love the trade. Really like Mac Wilson. He's got some ball skills for a linebacker too. Just saw the one pick. But if you
Mm.
got one pick as a rookie linebacker,
It's
I
pretty
think you
good.
got some ball skills. I think you got some ability to, be willing to make plays, and that's intriguing for me. I've seen him play a little bit, don't know a ton about the player, but Belichick loves his Bama guys. Very excited about this. Didn't think Winovich, dating back to during last season, had a future with the Patriots.
Mm.
They trade Shaq Mason, save 7.125 million in cap space. Would have loved to have gotten a fourth or like a fourth and a seventh next year for Shaq Mason. I do think he's more valuable than a fifth,
Mm.
but it's fine. It's one of the things I wanted them to do in terms of cap space, not the player. They needed cap space. They needed to make a tough move. I'm still surprised they haven't cut Henry Anderson. I think that would save him like $3 million. Just guessing. I think that's what he signed for last year. 1 year, 2 years, 3 million per. He signed Terrence Mitchell, who sucks. He's probably a good depth piece. If you add more pieces, could be fine. Could be fine in the right matchups. But a
Mm.
guy I'm not excited about. A guy
Nope.
that could prove me wrong, but I'm leaning towards not. Him not doing so. Like you said, he's been on like 6 teams in the past however so many years, whatever the fuck. Um,
6 and 7.
he's
Six
he's
teams in
just he's
7
just
years.
not a difference maker, and he's a guy you can only sign because you don't have a lot of cap space, and
Mm.
you need some other cap space to address other areas. And to cap it all off, you might lose Trent Brown to the Seahawks to protect Drew Lock or Kenny Pickett or Malik Willis
Whoever the
or
hell's
Matt
there, yeah.
Corral, whoever. Um, Brutal. You can't lose Trent Brown at this point. He's going to be cheaper than Lael Collins. I'd rather sign Trent Brown than trade for Lael Collins at this point. Um, I don't know what the deal is. Trent Brown likes it here. He said he wants to be somewhere for the next 8 years. I don't know if he's talking all playing days
I was
or if
gonna
he's
say
talking
that's yeah.
a few more years and then just living here for a while, maybe staying in an area he likes enough. I don't know, but I don't know if Trent Brown's going to last 8 more years. He's a big dude. Um,
Mm.
it's hard to hold up the knees and all that stuff. It's such a big dude. No slight to him, but especially offensive linemen go through so much too, man. Like it's such
Mm.
a taxing position. Um, I'm not thrilled. There's some good stuff, but they're minor good things. The Patriots are getting worse while other teams are getting better. This team does not make the playoffs right now.
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, we said that last week it was going to be tough when Denver was making moves to acquire a quarterback, and I said they're better than you. We talked about, the Colts, who was kind of up in the air. The Colts, I don't care who they bring in a quarterback, they're better than you on paper right now. But I don't know, just to kind of go off of some of your points, it's kind of crazy to me that the Winovich move is the only one they have gotten right. Like, actually get something for a player that you weren't going to play, didn't play, and weren't going to play anyway. The fact that they traded, I understand trading Shaq Mason to clear up cap space, but the fact that you did it to help Tom Brady out seems just a bit strange to me. Like, it's almost seems like to me
I
you're
think
doing Brady
Brady
a
literally
favor. Like,
Brady hasn't signed yet, but he hit up Jason Licht and said, "I want my old right guard back if we lose Kappa."
all right.
That's what he said. I guarantee that. I
I'd have to assume,
guarantee
yeah. Well,
that.
that's what I mean. I can't imagine Belichick would have like willingly traded Mason to help Brady out. But again, that's why I keep going back to the Karras signing being so aggravating to me. As you mentioned, it obviously the Mason trade and then the potential of losing Trent Brown. Like, it seems like to me they have done every possible thing they can do between losing potentially 3 starting offensive linemen, like I said earlier, not bringing any receivers, keeping the same guys you have right now, because like you said, you really can't because you don't have any cap space. Obviously, the coaching decision I mentioned earlier, it seems like they've done everything in their power to fuck Mac Jones over. Like, I pray for him next year. We talked about it last year. With the offensive line intact, he was still getting killed. Like, now the fact that you lose 3 starters, potentially 3 starters, and again, like you've mentioned La'el Collins a couple times, that's not a definite thing they're going to require him. Obviously, with a trade,
No,
like anything can
I don't
happen.
think it'll
So
happen
yeah,
personally.
exactly. I don't either. So I mean, I can't imagine the Patriots like this guy is. It seems like an all-pro type of guy. I don't see the Patriots making a move for a guy like that. They'll go get some bargain bin bum that can slot in and get Mac Jones killed 30 times a year. Like, I pray for him next year. What this offense is going to look like with the decisions they've made so far. Obviously, there's still time to make some moves. You hope they make more, but like right now, I'm with you. This team does not sniff the playoffs next year, and then you have some real questions that will come up next offseason about what the future of this team is going to look like.
Yeah, I don't even want to think about that.
No, it's
Um,
gonna be ugly.
what's next? What's next?
Well,
Sorry, I have an itch on
just
my
some of the.
leg.
It's all right. Just some of the names. I mean, speaking of the receiver stuff, obviously names they could be involved with. Jarvis Landry obviously was released by the Browns. Adam Schefter saying the 2 teams that have expressed the most interest in him, the Chiefs and the Saints, as you mentioned. The Saints don't have a ton of cap space, but they clearly think they can make it work. So I don't understand why the Patriots wouldn't kind of take that same approach when you need a legitimate number one. Allen Robinson's name, of course, came up. Henry McKenna had the Chiefs, Lions, Browns showing interest in Allen Robinson during the tampering window via Tom Pelissero of NFL Network. And then the one that I don't want is Marquez Valdez-Scantling. There were talks that he was going to end up with the 49ers, I thought, but I haven't seen anything official on that. Evan Lazar had the Patriots had preliminary talks with MVS's camp per source, but there's nothing imminent there either way. Valdez-Scantling's market is robust. Deal could be north of $12 million annual or APY, which if it's north of $12 million for Marquez Valdez-Scantling, no thanks. Like, again, we talked about this on air, off air. Like, I want a bona fide number one guy. I want Robinson or I want Landry. I don't want another guy in Valdez Scantling who's a 2 or a 3 at best on other teams and comes in here and slots in as your number one because you don't have a guy that can step into a number one role. Like, you need a guy, and this has been talked about before, Zolak and Bertrand. I was listening earlier today. Was Burt Bree that brought it up. He says, you need a guy that's a legitimate one, so guys like Myers and Kendrick Bourne can slot back into roles that they're better fit for, like a number 2 and a number 3 wide receiver. The guys that are playing or trying to play as ones right now, and they're nice players, but they're not number ones. You need a bona fide guy. I'll keep harping on that to the day I die or to the day they do it, but who the hell knows what's going to come first with the Patriots at this rate.
Yeah, I hope you don't die though.
I
Um,
appreciate it. I don't either, but
I
like I
mean,
said, I might before the Patriots sign a receiver that helps them.
Jarvis Landry's not happening.
Nope.
I just don't think he will. If he's in on the Bucks and the
Oh, believe
Packers,
me,
it'll
none of
probably be
these
the
guys will
Packers at
happen.
this point.
Like,
Um, but the Bucks are probably running out of cap space. I imagine the Packers
true.
are dealing with wide receiver troubles of their own. With Adams, Valdez, Scantling leaving, and Alan Lazard, future up in the air.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, for me, it's going to be Allen Robinson or Robbie Anderson or maybe some outsider. Um, trying to think who else could be out there. Maybe something will come to me. But
I can't think of other than the guys we've talked about, like Juju Smith-Schuster, who I don't want. Your
I
guy
do not
Chark
want him,
ended up in Detroit. Like,
which pains me. Um, oh, that would have been nice, even for a year here. Like, are you kidding me? Like, I think he's a home run. I think he's gonna be a stud. He's gonna break out in Detroit. Um,
oh, who the big one I was blanking on. What are your thoughts on Julio Jones? He got released today with the Titans. Any interest there, or that's a guy I'm kind of iffy about. Injuries starting to pile up. Production's diminished a lot. Like,
I think Belichick loves him. That's the thing.
that's what I think too. Was what he could bring him in here, but like I don't know if he's over the hill past his prime. Like I'd
That's a
be
tough
again.
trade for the Titans
Yeah,
now. They made
yeah,
holy
it is.
smokes. He's 33.
My thing too is if the Titans gave up on him after 1 year, like there's got to be something there that they see like this guy's
Yeah,
washed.
it's just
Like
not the most fruitful pickup when you can get a guy
no.
like Robinson or Anderson,
Hmm.
especially if it moves Nelson Aguilar in an Anderson deal,
Exactly.
potentially,
Yeah. Yep.
or N'Keal Harry. Um,
Or both.
yeah, maybe. Tom Brady retires. Some people hate the whole shtick he's doing. I kind of get that, but I don't really.
I
I really don't. I just
leaning
love
towards that a
watching him.
little bit.
It's
Like
whatever. I understand where
it's
people
kind
are
of
coming from,
Farby.
but I don't let it bother me. I love Tom
Hmm.
Brady. I hope he wins 19 more Super Bowls, and yeah,
Hmm.
that's how
I'm
I
just
see it.
spiteful. It ruined my Kevin Garnett number retirement celebration. Like it
I
happened
didn't
right in
drop
the
him in
middle of
Dynasty.
that. Like
I didn't
oh, so
drop Tom Brady
you're
in
good then.
Dynasty.
The
I'm a
one
beast.
question I saw some people ask is if he's going to play for the Buccaneers or if he's going to try to get traded. Like I find that completely dumb.
He's
Like
going to the
he's
Bucks.
bringing guys back to the Buccaneers to play
Going to
with
the
him. Like
Bucks.
you said it to me, Ryan Jensen. The reason he's going back to Tampa Bay is because of Tom Brady going back to Tampa Bay. Like
I think the theory about Brady waiting after retirement to see if they would release him and it not
mhm,
working is possible, but not
yep.
likely. I think there's some merit to it, though. I think that's the type of thing he possibly would do. That's
Mhm.
not a negative reflection on him. We don't really need to talk about this too much, though. I mean, there's not a whole lot to
No,
get
not a
into,
whole.
really.
Yeah.
Other notable moves: Mitch Trubisky to the Steelers. LOL. Fuck you, Steelers.
Horrible
Teddy
move. Yeah.
Bridgewater to the
Good luck to
Dolphins.
them.
That's a good backup for
That's a
Tua.
decent move. Yep.
Fine. Kirk Cousins, 35 million is stupid.
Yep.
Tyrod Taylor, fine for the Giants. A
Good
little bit
move for
too
the
much money
Giants.
though. I would love to see him start over Daniel Jones. That would just be funny. Um,
Mhm.
Joe Flacco, the GOAT, back with the Jets. J.D. McKissick spurns the Bills. Love that. Goes back to the
Mhm.
Commanders. Chase Edmonds really like this pickup for the Dolphins. I think Myles Gaskin is a guy that's going to continue to improve. Chase Edmonds is a good passing back, good versatile guy. Love that for them. I think there's still a chance they draft a running back as well in the second round. James Conner back with Arizona is huge. They can't lose both of them. That's another team probably in the market for a running back early in the draft. Not the first round, though. I doubt it. Christian Kirk. Um, Holy shit, can make up to 84 million with the Jacksonville Jaguars because they got money falling out of their ass crack. Um, Looks like $18 million round he'll end up making. Great player, overpayment.
Massive
I do
overpayment.
think he can get better, but I think the Jaguars are starting to build something on their offensive line, and with him, I think they'll draft a running receiver in the first 2 or 3 rounds. Um, and Trevor Lawrence will cook a little bit more next year. But I still think he could be a bust. Braxton Berrios staying with the Jets is a little surprising to me.
Mhm.
Maybe the market wasn't so crazy for him, but he's a great fit there. I think he's establishing a pretty nice relationship on the field, and off the field. I imagine they're good friends with Zach Wilson. Michael Gallup stays with the Cowboys. Great pickup for them. I think it's pretty reasonable. Maybe a slight overpay. Um, Cedric Wilson to the Dolphins. That's the perfect type of guy for the Dolphins receiving core, I think, to
Mhm.
be third fiddle to. Um, another. Oh, that's the fight from earlier. Um,
Oh, for the
Third
Bruins game,
fiddle
yeah.
to Devontae Parker and
Parker
Jalen
and Waddle.
Waddle.
Yep.
Perfect type of guy they needed. Kind of, takes a need off the board in the draft for them early on. I think they could have drafted a receiver um, in the second round or third round, but maybe not now. DJ Chark to the Lions. Hurts really wanted him. I think he'd be a great Patriot. I think he is going to become a number one caliber player. He's already on his way to starting to do so. Russell Gage with the Bucks, expected to sign with them. Great pickup for them, even if they trade Chris Godwin, which it sounds like they might do after the tag. Um, Russell Gage, I
Oh, I
think, is a
wonder how
guy that
Brady would take
with the
that.
with the better QB. Yeah, I'm not leaning towards it, but like they could say "f you" to Brady on this one and just get what they want. But
Mhm.
at that point, at this point, that's not likely. Just throwing it out there,
Yep.
because it is possible if they get a great return for Chris Godwin and they don't love
True.
his health situation, they could be like, "Hey, we got to do this. We're signing
Mhm.
Russell to replace him. We got Scotty Miller. They could always draft a receiver." Um, Jakeem Grant to the Browns, underrated pickup, good depth guy for them with losing Cooper and obviously not having OBJ. Julio Jones, who knows where he goes? Hope it's not the Patriots at this point. CJ Uzomah to the Jets. They need a tight end badly. He gives them one. Evan Ingram could be a slot guy and a tight end for the Jaguars. I like it for a year. OJ Howard to the Bills. Decent. Zach Ertz back to the Cardinals. Solid. Austin Hooper released. Alex Kappa, we talked about him. DeMarcus Lawrence stays with the Cowboys. Randy Gregory spurns the Cowboys, goes to the Broncos. The Broncos just get even better. Carl Nassib released by Vegas. Jordan Phillips released by Arizona. Larry Ogunjobi to the Bears. They need a guy like him on their D-line. Emmanuel Ogbah stays with the Dolphins. B.J. Hill stays with the Bengals. Foyesade Aloakun goes to the Jaguars. Huge pickup for them. I think Aloakun's a rising stud. Hassan Reddick to the hometown Eagles. Devondre Campbell stays with the Packers. Landon Roberts stays with the Dolphins. Chandler Jones gets overpaid as hell by the Raiders.
Yeah, he did.
Za'Darius Smith goes back, another homecoming with the Ravens. Great pickup for them. Another team around the Patriots. Not a big deal. Really big deal. Jordan Hicks, guy you really could have afforded. Signs with the
Absolutely.
Vikings.
Yep.
Why not? Why would you sign him? He's good.
Nope.
Why would you want a good player? Miles Jack didn't know this happened until just now. Signs
Yep.
with Pittsburgh.
That was earlier. I saw that one.
8
I'm like, there's
million
another guy
for
you could have
Miles
used.
Jack. He's
Yep.
worth 10 plus.
Yep.
He's worth 10 or 11. You kidding me? He's
Horrible
worth 12.
offseason gets worse.
Von Miller gets a massive deal with the Bills.
Ridiculous contract.
Spreading
That's
out the money
horrible.
with that 6 years. I don't think he's playing 6 more years. I think they're just spreading out the money for cap moves. Nick Kwiatkowski, please, Bill, just sign a linebacker. I like Kwiatkowski.
Nope.
I would take Danny Trevathan at this point too from Chicago, who was released. Carlton Davis stays with the Bucs. Travarius Ward goes to the 49ers. They were in on Gilmore. They get Ward. I like that play for them long term even more. They needed a corner badly. Still could draft one in the second round, I think. Quandre Diggs stays in Seattle. Justin Reed goes to the Chiefs, replacing Tyrann Mathieu because it looks like he's leaving. Xavier Woods goes to the Panthers. Just another good safety option. They got Jeremy Chin. Gives them another good safety option to help in that group for them. I like that pickup. Malik Hooker stays with the Cowboys. Marcus May, really underrated pickup for the Saints. He's actually very good. I learned from PFF recently playing on the Jets. We'll see how he does with the Saints, like that pickup. And Marcus Williams, one of the biggest signings so far this offseason. Huge pickup for the Ravens in their secondary. They could really use a guy like him. 5 years, $70 million. What do we think?
Something we've echoed pretty much all show so far since we started talking Patriots is there are a lot of teams on this list, AFC teams in particular, that got a lot better with a lot of these moves, and the Patriots aren't involved in any of them. Like you said, with a couple of guys with the releases, who was it towards the end? Kwiatkowski and Trevathan. You want the Patriots to get them? They're not going to. They'll go to someone like Pittsburgh will probably take one of them. The Titans will grab another one. Like, it'll be teams in the AFC that sign them that, like, again, the Patriots will be right in competition with, but in the end not be able to grab. Again, plenty of names on this list that you could have maybe be interested in. I saw a lot of people say that Chandler Jones was a guy the Patriots should have been in on. Maybe a reunion there. Of course, they don't get him. But
people,
he weren't
people. Just because he's a former Patriot,
doesn't mean you want to.
Come on, like, what are we doing here? He's gotten a lot older. He's still solid.
Still
but
good.
$17 million, I would do bad.
Well, the Patriots
things.
wouldn't have paid that anyway. Like, they would have probably offered him like 7.
I would have done bad things if they signed that contract. I like Chandler Jones. I think he'd be a good leader for the defense. A lot of young guys. But no, you don't need an edge rusher at that money. Maybe for depth. Probably not even that. But no, just please, for the love of God, people have some common sense. I don't mean to just shit on people, but I really think people wanting Chandler Jones back are kind of dumb for that. Amari Cooper.
One other. I was going to say really quick, one other.
Just finish up some thoughts.
Sorry, I was refreshing Twitter and I saw one other free agent news that just broke. Another team competing with the Patriots. The Dolphins are giving former 49ers running back Raheem Mostert a 1-year, $3.125 million contract. So the Dolphins, along with Edmonds, getting another decent running back.
Now they have a legit running game.
Yep.
You got Mostert, who's like a 1A, Gaskin, who's the 1B, and I imagine Chase Edmonds is going to be practically solely a passing back and a really good one at this rate. They're getting better. Bill, please. Bill,
and you don't have a defense to stop it right now.
Need more. Just need it. Amari Cooper.
More. You just need something.
For a 5th and a 6th, that's laughable. Huge pickup for them. A team probably looking at a few receivers that need to step up, like Anthony Schwartz and Donovan Peoples-Jones that they've drafted. They signed Jakeem Grant. I like how their receiver room's shaping up. Rashad Higgins signed with the Panthers today. I think it was the Panthers. Khalil Mack
I think so.
traded to the LA Chargers for a 2022 second and a 2023 third. Awesome
That's
trade.
laughable
I
too.
like it for the Bears too because they need to rebuild.
Mm-hmm.
Khalil Mack wasn't going to be around forever. They're not competing. I like them getting picks here and accelerating the rebuild. You want to make Justin Fields happy, get some more picks and get him some young guys. Khalil Mack wasn't going to stick around forever. They're not competing next year. Yannick Ngakoue for Rock Ya-Sin really surprised me, but at the
Weird
same
straight
time it
up,
didn't
yeah.
because they just signed Chandler Jones, gives them an option to trade an edge rusher that they have a surplus of. You have Chandler Jones and Max Crosby. You release Carl Nassib and trade Yannick Ngakoue. They're completely redoing the edge rusher group there. No saying whether they don't try and add some more depth, some new faces that Dave Ziegler likes because we know he's running the show there, making moves. Rock Ya-Sin, great pickup for the Raiders too. They need help in the secondary. A recent second round pick, early second round pick by the Colts, showed some solid potential starting to peer through this year with the Colts. I like Rock Ya-Sin a lot. He's a Temple guy, not a big school guy. Um, really like him though. Good player, really good pickup for the Raiders. Another team um, subtracting, but also signing a good player to
Mm-hmm.
replace Ngakoue and getting a player in a position of need that's very young. Um, and the Patriots are doing nothing.
I was
Um,
gonna say, so it's another AFC
it's
team that's
just
making a solid
brutal.
move that
It's
helps them.
just
And
brutal.
yep, the
Um,
Cooper thing, really quick, is kind of
yeah,
my
no, go
last
ahead.
thought because we've talked about, or I discussed the Browns just as a whole with you, and just I cannot seem to figure out what the hell the Browns are doing. Just the last couple of years, the last just off season as a whole. Obviously, you mentioned it earlier. They released Austin Hooper earlier today, so don't really know what they're gonna do with tight end. I think maybe they franchise tagged
They
on the Joker,
kept
right? So he's still
Njoku.
he's
They
still
have
there, but
Harrison Bryant as well, so
true.
Harrison Bryant will be the number two. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Release
There's
Cooper.
questions what they're gonna do at quarterback. Baker Mayfield's still with the team, but he's penning goodbye letters on Instagram. They're checking in on Deshaun Watson.
Claiming he
I can't.
doesn't know anything.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
hey,
Like
buddy,
it's
like we know you
that's
know
a
shit.
that's a disaster waiting to
We know you
happen
know your
there.
future's in doubt with them
Yeah.
meeting with the Browns, and you're not feeling great about it if you're
Yeah.
putting a statement out there, buddy.
Yep. So
You know, flex.
that's gonna get worse before it gets better. I don't
Put it in a
understand the
progressive
receiver.
commercial, you punk.
Yeah, exactly. I don't understand the receiver. You and I talked about this with the receiver thing. You had two pretty good wide receivers last year in OBJ and Landry. Doesn't work out there. You obviously get rid of OBJ. Now this offseason you're bringing Amari Cooper and then immediately cut Jarvis Landry. There's talks of them wanting to
It's
bring in
good,
Allen
dude. I'm
Robinson.
telling
So
you. I'm
like
telling
I
you.
just don't
What they're
like
doing is good.
the carousel effect.
Jarvis Landry's future was in doubt during the season.
Yeah.
This is good. Jakeem Grant is solid depth. Anthony
Hmm.
Schwartz is a burner if they can get him going. That kid's gonna fly in the open field.
Hmm.
Donovan Peoples Jones got some legit size and like good hands for a big guy. Um,
My
yeah,
big
man, I
thing
like
too
it.
is though
I
like
like it. But they lose Rashard Higgins. If they could have kept
yeah.
Rashard Higgins, I like it a little more. But they
Hmm.
probably weren't going to keep him from the start of the offseason. You know, if they
Hmm.
could add another guy and have Jakeem Grant be their third string, in terms of they really want to bulk up, but I think at this point they have faith that Donovan Peoples Jones can become their number two. Jakeem Grant can be their three or four, and Anthony Schwartz can be their burner that plays in the slot. Um,
Hmm.
because dude, he was the fastest player in the draft last year at Auburn, fastest player in the whole draft, like by a pretty substantial margin. It felt like wasn't too crazy, but man, could that kid fly! And this was also a draft that had Rondale Moore, so that's saying a lot. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, but just one more thing. Just be prepared right now as it stands for the Patriots to have a pretty bad offensive line if they lose Trent Brown
Which
because
is
we don't have any indication that they're going to upgrade in the offensive line. Right now, we're looking at Isaiah Wynn, Michael Onwenu, David Andrews. That's fine. But then you got James Ferenz probably right now, or Will Sherman, and Justin Haran, who is not a starter yet and may never be a starter. He is a rotational piece, as most depth linemen in the later rounds of drafts are. So keep that in mind. Things suck right now. Hope they change. Hope we get to talk about Allen Robinson being a Patriot at this point. Hope they do something. Just anything, dude. Like, give me Casey Hayward at this point. Like, I don't even care. Give me something in the
something that
quarterback
helps.
group. Give
The
me Nick Kwiatkowski or Danny Trevathan, please,
the
please,
Jets are
Bill,
adding again
please,
too, by
Elliot
the way.
Wolf. You're on the clock, pal. You got a bigger responsibility this year, Elliot Wolf. He actually might be scouting, but I don't know. I think he's involved in this somehow. Guys, just please, I'm just gonna throw out an overarching message. Please, Patriots, please.
The one thing I was going to say really quick is the Dolphins are loading up on running backs. The Jets are loading up on tight ends. They just signed Ty Conklin as well. So they
He's
have
nothing
Uzama.
really to me.
Yeah, but it's a
Um,
move that a team, again, in your division is making. You aren't
are you
making moves
retweeting
like,
these?
yes, that one I
All
did
right,
not get to because I
thank
just
you.
saw it. I'll do that in a second. Yep.
Um,
But yeah, it's just to echo your
it's-
points. It's been frustrating, and again, like you can't fuck up the offensive line like as royally as you
we
have
want
for
Mac
Mac
Jones to be
Jones. Like
alive.
I was gonna say, I don't want the
I really
the
like
quarterback
Mac
to
Jones.
die.
I
Like
really like him.
like
Like,
I can't imagine
I
what's
don't
going
want
through his
anything to
head right
happen to
now,
him.
seeing this with everything that's happened.
I
Like
put
I
the
said, the
video out.
coaches, the
Like,
I feel for the guy.
why am I forgetting his name? It's super bad. Jonah Hill's character. I don't know why. I'm just drawing a
Oh, I
blank.
can't remember.
Seth. When he's got the blood in his pants.
Oh yeah,
And
yep,
he's
yep.
walking like, oh, like, where's the bathroom? I gotta wash this off my pants. And he's like,
Mhm.
they're like laughing. I was, oh, fuck me, right?
Yeah.
um, that's what I put
That's
out. I was
yeah.
hoping to do numbies on that. I thought that would go viral. Didn't.
Mm.
Screw the haters.
Can't
Haters
win.
are my
Yep.
motivators. I got the
Can't win
headphones
them
in.
all.
Haters out. Um, the NHL, which I've been waiting to talk about. Um, I was wrong on the Kelly Yarncrook trade. Just to get this stuff out of the way. I thought a third or a fourth round pick, maybe an additional pick or low end prospect. They got the Kraken got a lot from Kelly Yarncroke. Um, Kelly Yarncroke to the Calgary Flames at $1 million retained, 50% for a second, a third, and a seventh.
That's a lot.
That's too much.
It's a
Um,
haul and a half.
I thought he was going to go to the Leafs, like I said last week, because of his connection with Kyle Dubas. But a second, a third, and a seventh. Yikes, Calgary. He's not that good, but you got to overpay. They added the seventh in 2024 just to get them to retain the salary, apparently. A second and a third. So this is the way I look at it. If the Bruins go after Ricard Raquel, if a second and a third's for Kelly Yarncroke, you're giving up a first round pick for Ricard Raquel. Or 2 seconds and a sixth. Like a little lateral upgrade. It's a 2022 second, 2023 third, 2024 seventh. Why didn't they just add a 2025 eighth round pick and add the eighth round for fun? Um, that was a dumb joke, but I'm fucking dumb sometimes. The other
Can't
trade,
all be home runs.
yeah. The eighth round did exist though. It used to.
It's true.
The Florida Panthers, dude. I mean, I think they're a great team. I think Sherrod could be, you know, blanketed pretty well in this defensive core, but the Canadians retain 50%. Panthers get Sherrod for Ty Smilanic, who's the Panthers' third round pick from 2 years ago. Had a great, I think, sophomore season now at Quinnipiac. Really looks like a good player. Really took a big step. I love Ty Smilanic. I love his speed. I love his hands. I think he's a really good player. The Panthers give up him, a 2022 fourth round pick that which they just acquired from the Rangers today. So we now know which pick is going to the Panthers. It'll be Winnipeg's fourth round pick. And a 2023 first, which is going to be a better draft than this year's draft. No lottery protection, so if the Panthers somehow sucked next year, the Canadians could get a lottery pick, potentially the first overall pick, and Connor Bedard. Um, Connor Bedard, I don't care how good you are, it's enough reason. Him and Matvey Michkov, even though Matvey Michkov is locked up in Russia for the next 3 years, he's the next Ovechkin. You got the next McDavid and Bedard. Every team should be lottery protecting their first round picks just in case of disaster. Because if the Panthers don't, or if the Panthers don't and somehow suck, it's like it went that bad, this is never gonna happen. But like it would be one of the biggest faux pas in the history of sports. Um, Not even exaggerating. Great trade for the Canadians, man. Their rebuild's going well. Ken Hughes is doing a great job. Great trade for them. We got some Merrimack news. Couple Merrimack defensemen.
Yes,
They're
it's
going to be
home.
hurting on the back end. Declan Carlisle leaves. He must have really caught Tampa Bay's eyes because they really don't sign undrafted free agents a lot. The Bruins just scored. It's 2-2. Um, Charlie McAvoy through the neutral zone over to Charlie
It's
Coyle. Coyle
Marchand,
back
I
to
think.
Marchand. He shoots. He
Yeah.
scores. Guy who hasn't
It's
been scoring a lot lately. Don't let Marchand get hot. Um, Declan Carlisle, a team that really doesn't sign a lot of undrafted free agents. Their last was Alex Green out of like some ECAC school, I think, Cornell, like 2 years ago, that I know of. Great puck moving defenseman, played on the offside as well with Merrimack. Like that pickup for Tampa, hate it because he's in our division if he becomes a good player. Zachary Ewens, fourth round pick, 120th, I think, in 2020, of the Panthers, signs a 2-year ELC. No, 3-year. I think Ewens was, or Carlisle was 2 years. Let me check. I have it right here. Declan Carlisle signs for 2 years and Ewens for 3. Um, both great players, both putting Merrimack on the map, improving the stock. Love it. Congratulations to them. Two really good puck moving defensemen on this awesome Merrimack team whose season is unfortunately over, but they accomplished a ton this year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
That was
just
like
looking. I saw an
second most
athletic
wins in.
notification. I thought it might have been for another NHL trade, but it was
No,
the Yarncrook one. Um,
I was just gonna say second
wow.
most.
Quick
Oop.
football note. The Packers just cut Randall Cobb's salary by 5.5 million. So
See, so you can maneuver the cap. The Patriots should do that. They have in the past. I don't know why they haven't done that with anybody this offseason. The one thing I was going to say about the Merrimack stuff, because you said successful years, it was what, their second most wins in Division One history, and the program or something like that. I thought I saw the other day. So obviously huge season for them, like you said.
yeah, it's big for the program.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just a note here from Darren Drager: the Seattle Kraken are also impressed by the return of Ben Sherratt, and they're trying to trade Mark Giordano, much older than Sherratt, but a left shot defenseman on a rental deal. There's been significant interest in Mark Giordano, so this could fuel the market. If Ben Sherratt gets a first round pick, Mark Giordano could too, which is gross.
Hmm.
I like Mark Giordano, but he's not worth the first round pick at this point in his career. He's 38 years old, but he is a fantastic leader. He's still solid. He even joins the rush a little bit still as a 38-year-old guy every once in a while. Um, yeah, I mean the trade deadline is going to be freaking weird this year, man. We're going to see some crazy overpayments. Um, you didn't remind me to change the label
Oh,
on
I
the
forgot. I'm
screen.
sorry. I keep forgetting that's my job.
Send out a quick tweet from my
Sorry. I
Bruins
keep getting text
my Bruins
messages
contingent
that
on
I was telling you
Twitter.
about fake job applications. For some reason, I don't
Um,
know why I am getting those, but I can tell this one's fake. I remember I texted you a really quick sidebar about the fake one I had a couple weeks ago. This one, their organization spelled with an S and not a Z because that's how you spell organization. Apparently reviewed my resume, so that one's
I
definitely
think that's
real.
how they spell it in Canada.
Oh, is it?
Maybe, maybe
Oh,
that's a
so
big maybe.
well,
Um, quick game recaps. Bruins Chicago 4-3 win on the 10th. Charlie Coyle scores early. Um, Clifton makes the whole play happen with a rebound, but Coyle got it started before. Great work through the neutral zone, makes it happen, gets his rebound, gets rewarded. Um, Jack Sean on the Debrincat goals left on an island. Can't do anything about it. Reasonable, tough spot for him. Brandon Hagel ends up scoring. Jack Sean pulls a nifty little move out of his hat for his first career NHL goal. I love Jack Sean. Built like a fire hydrant, like his coach said, Ryan Mujanel. Guys all lower center of gravity, legs feed the wolf. Guys probably got quads the size of Mars. Um, Scores a sick first goal. Like my goodness, the little one-handed tap through the skates of the Chicago player, rips it top right. Just a beautiful, beautiful goal. Um, he's such an awesome player, man. His brother signed with who I wanted the Bruins to sign. He's like a Marchand 2.0 in terms of style. Signs with the Columbus Blue Jackets. If that guy's on a line with Sean Corelli one day, it's gonna be the best fourth line in hockey. Um, David Pastrnak scores the power play. A really nifty little like body positioning play by Pastrnak. It kind of handcuffed him a little bit, but he still gets it in. Makes a tough shot and he buries it. Makes it look easy. A give and go to get that going. Love that. One of Pasternak's better finishes of the year. One of his tougher ones. And then he ends it late because that's just what he does. Scores with 18 seconds left. I think it was 18.8. Phenomenal. Great win. Shouldn't have been that close. Brandon Hagel scores twice. He loves scoring against the Bruins, as we'll talk about later. Might be a Bruin someday. Um, yeah, good win for the Bruins. Really good. Jeremy Swayman
mhm.
makes 22 saves and 25 shots, 36 out of 25 shots for the Bruins. Anything stick out to you in this one?
No, I was unable to catch really the majority of the game. The only thing I actually saw was the late second goal from David Pastrnak, and that was going to be the one thing I was going to bring up about this game. It was nice to see the Bruins kind of one flip the script, maybe from a grudge standpoint from you and I, flip the script on the Blackhawks as a whole, scoring within the final seconds of games. And then just in general, we've talked about that last episode. The Bruins have had problems closing out games in the past, kind of had this happen to them a couple of games. It's nice to see them kind of, like I said, flip the script as a whole and get a win late. I feel like it's got to be a feel good type of thing from them.
Just a quick note. Yeah, I agree on all the fronts there. Good, feel good win. Good way to
Mm-hmm.
battle it out in a game you probably should have won by more.
Mm-hmm.
Brad Marchand's first goal since February 26th tonight, so that's good. Next up, two nights later, you got Arizona 3-2 win. Bruins have won 10 of their last 12, by the way. Not a big deal. Craig Smith, right place, right time for the rebound on the first one. Broken play off a shot attempt and a second one after that. Clayton Keller with a buzzer beater. Swayman slides to the right of the his left, our right of the net. Keller puts it top left right before the buzzer, throws him off. Tough one. I mean, Swayman probably wants that one back, but it was more so a great read by Keller than a mistake by Swayman to me. Nick Ritchie scores a revenge goal, classic Nick Ritchie fashion, right in front of the net. Coyle gets his redemption from the LA game, his screw up after a good game. Same area of the ice, picks up the loose puck, turns and burns down the ice, puts the perfect backhand past Carl Vamelka. What a win for the Bruins. Another one that shouldn't be that close, but the Coyotes have been playing better lately, so
Mm-hmm.
maybe they're a wagon. I don't know. What about this game? You catch this one?
Did not. This is tonight's game. Unfortunately, is the only game I've been able to catch. But I mean, again, the game we talked about last week when you did the previews and stuff, you mentioned how hot Arizona was. Just obviously nice for the Bruins to come out and know their opponent, not play down to them, and not get blown out by 5 or however many goals. The Coyotes were scoring at the pace they were, whatever it was, the 40 something in 5 games or whatever crazy number it was. Sucks that it was Nick Ritchie that had to tie the game. That kind of, I know you. On Twitter, I saw that you were talking about a Ritchie revenge game that ended up unfortunately coming to be. But
game. It'll be
yeah,
any player. Jakob Johnson could have a carry for the Raiders next year against the Patriots or sometime in the future, and I'd call it a revenge game.
Jakob Johnson.
I don't even know
if you have that and a Bolden
year.
revenge game.
That'll be funny
I
if
think
they play the Raiders.
I think they do in Vegas.
They might. Oh boy. That's gonna be a storyline game. Patrice Bergeron last night, 2-1 OT win, gets the goal scoring started at an absolute muck in front of the net. He buries it. He's having just such an amazing season. I hope this guy doesn't retire. Brandon Hagel scores in a tip out front. 3 goals in 2 games against the Bruins in the past week.
Pretty
for
good.
him. Maybe he wants to play for the Bruins.
Nice little showcase games.
Yep. Maybe Jack Stanika gets a little showcase. Speaking of those, as he's getting
That's
called
what
up,
I thought when I saw he was getting called up. But
Lee. He's got like 17 points in his last 14 Providence games, I think. Brandon Hagel. Omar could have been in front of that, but he was screened. I'm not going to give him a ton of flack, but I think he could have had it. Was probably a little frustrated. Hall Pasternak just doing stupid, crazy nonsense in overtime. Find Matt Grzelcyk wide open. Just buries it. And a crazy game for Fleury ends poorly. He says he doesn't want to leave Chicago after that. I'd want to leave Chicago. Some team might have to get double salary retention to get him, namely the Toronto Maple Leafs if they want him. Please don't help the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Would not like that. Nope.
We don't need it. We like seeing them lose. Charlie Coyle's goal got called back for complete nonsense. No contact.
Yeah, I heard
from Craig
about
Smith,
this.
No contact from anyone else, really. The explanation came out on Twitter. Shout out to Mr. Tenkrat on Twitter, the Peter Tenkrat parody account, which is wild because Peter Tenkrat's like one of those old random Bruins. Shout out to him. He's got a great account. I think he just made it recently, so go follow him. Love that account. Coach's challenge initiated by Boston, upheld, no goal Boston. Explanation, video review confirmed the actions of Boston's Craig Smith impaired goaltender Marc-Andre Fleury's ability to play his position prior to Charlie Coyle's goal. Nope, didn't happen. The decision was made in part in accordance with the Rule 69, .1, which states in part goals should be disallowed only if, one, an attacking player, either by his positioning or by contact, impairs the goalie's ability to move freely within his crease to defend his goal. So, the contact thing's bullshit, the crease thing's not. Whatever. The Bruins won the game. Would have stung more if they didn't. I was talking to some friends on Xbox. I was watching the game, playing Xbox at the same time. I was like, this just feels like a game they lose. It just feels one they're cursed. And
Because of that, yeah.
uh, too easy in overtime though. Thank God. Grizzlies' first goal since his 5-point night against Washington, if you remember that, on
Oh,
January
I forgot
10th.
about that. Yeah.
That feels like it was 10 years ago.
I was gonna
Um,
say, yeah. If you
am
told me
I
that was this
weird?
year, I would have been
I'm
like,
glad you
no.
agree.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but it took the Bruins a little too long to take control of this game. But credit to Marc-Andre Fleury for that.
Hmm.
He'll be a big topic of discussion over the next few days as we approach Monday's deadline. Um, 110 of their last 12. How you feeling, man?
Feeling good. But obviously, like I've said before when we've talked Bruins, I think there's still room for improvement. And again, you'll get into the trade deadline stuff in a second. Again, to me, it just comes down to getting defensive help. And, I'm still very curious to see what happens with Jake DeBrusk. We talked about that a little bit last night off air, if we thought DeBrusk um, gets traded for a defenseman, if you think he's in a package for something else, if you think he's 1-for-1 for something else, like where he ends up going. I'll be curious to see. As you told me, there's a lot of people that think he's going to stick around potentially, which I'm curious, like I said, curious to see if that ends up happening. But still haven't, switched off of what I said last week and the week before that. You need defensive help, and that's where I'm going to stand until we see a move made, if a move is made.
Yeah, sorry, I'm tweeting real quick.
Not a multitasker?
Not right now.
No.
Almost done. All right, back at it. Yeah, they do need to make improvements. We'll talk about that after the previews. We already touched on the trades, so we'll talk about some other stuff and things they could do. First off, right now they're playing Minnesota. Kirill Kaprizov is up to 74 points now, maybe 75 on the second goal. Don't know. But he's just absolutely bonkers good. Got Capo Kakinen and Cam Talbot playing right now. Cam Talbot is in net, I believe. Yes, it is. Just double checking. Um, they just traded Nico Sturm, who's a pending UFA, for Tyson Jost, a team that needs cap flexibility in the summer, and they add it. Don't really know why, but it kind of seemed like I kind of had like a stroke there. I didn't say that right. Because I'm getting excited. Um,
Believe me, I've had plenty when it comes to trying to
they
describe
did
things.
say, they have the buyouts kicking in, the big buyouts for Suter and Parise in the summer, so they need to make some lateral cap moves. I think they'll trade Kevin Fiala in the offseason. But yeah, they wanted to make a minor move. It seemed like possibly, and they get that with Tyson Jost, former top 10 pick, wasn't really working out in Colorado. Playing a lot of fourth line minutes, was buried in the lineup. Might be a similar case, bottom six guy in Minnesota, but he's a solid player. He's got some solid ability. He tore it up in the BCHL. I remember his draft year. Um, Decent trade, unexpected trade. Winnipeg, 2 nights from now at Winnipeg. Second time playing them this year. They're 28, 23, and 10. All of a sudden, not too far out of the playoff race in the Central Division. Kyle Connor leads them in scoring, fifth in the league in goals at 38, 34, and 72. Payne in 61 games. Eric Comrie, one of the best goals against and save percentage in the league. 7-2-1 is the backup with a 2.34 and a 9.20. Then somehow Connor Hellebuck, the better goalie, is 21, 21, and 9 with a 2.99 goals against, a 908 save percentage, and 3 shutouts. Don't know what's going on there. Very confused. They're in a weird state right now. They're potentially selling off guys like Paul Stastny and Andrew Kopp, but they're 6 points out of a playoff spot. It's weird. They still got to get past Dallas, but I'm talking 6 points behind Minnesota. Dallas is ahead of them, I think 3 points ahead. Um, they've won 6 of their last 10 games. They're turning things around. Maybe Winnipeg sneaks into the playoffs. I don't think so. But if Minnesota keeps struggling, they're playing well against the Bruins tonight in a chippy game. It's been with Clifton and Frederick, a little bit of bleed, other players as well. We'll see what happens with the Winnipeg Jets, man. It's a big game for them against the Bruins, no doubt. They'll
Hmm.
be looking to obviously win. Montreal Canadiens, who are turning things around under Marty St. Louis on the 21st, will be at the Bell Center. 16, 36, and 8, 40 points, 8th in the Atlantic. Nick Suzuki, 43 points in 60 games. Samuel Montembeau, 7, 13, and 5 with a 371 and a 1 shutout. Caden Primo, who I gassed up out of Northeastern, is looking terrible on a bad team.
Yep.
7-1 with a 462 goals against and an 868 save percentage.
That blows.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah,
so that,
yeah, yeah, yikes.
is it just a product of the
Holy
bad team, or is that goalie just that terrible? Or a
both,
little bit of
man.
both? Okay.
He's a really good goalie that something is severely wrong with because this kid's a legit stud, and something is seriously wrong with him. Um, Maybe it's mental playing for that brutal team. Um, but Marty St. Louis, man, he's got Cole Caulfield playing like an absolute maniac in a full season. Cole Caulfield's a guy that can easily hit 30, 35 goals, maybe 40 next season. He's just that good, and he's playing like a completely different player under St. Louis, as well as other players. This is a team, they already traded Brent Sherrod today. They traded Tyler Toffoli. Arturi Lekkonen's probably next to the Rangers or the Capitals, it sounds like. Looks like they could get a first-round pick. Another one, the Canadians are rebuilding in a big-time way. Um, they do not have the first overall pick anymore, though. They don't. As of now, the lottery could change. But let's see what the current look of that is right now. We'll check the drafts order. The lottery. Oh, they do have the first overall. It's my mistake. It goes them, Seattle, Arizona in the top three. But as the lottery goes, that doesn't guarantee them the number one pick. Um, Anything
It's
that
true.
sticks out about the week ahead to you?
Not really some tough games at the start. Obviously, it's always fun to see the Montreal Canadiens, but that's a game that you probably should win with how, like you said, how poorly they have played. But again, my attention is, I feel like, fully on just, I'm been waiting for the trade deadline. I feel like I was talking to my grandfather about it yesterday. I feel like it's like every time we get on here, we're waiting for the trade deadline. Like it seems like it's still so far away, but now that it's finally here, like I'm very excited to see what the Bruins will do. Obviously, there's more and more rumors that are starting to come out, so that's kind of where my attention has been leading up to obviously next Monday.
Yeah, I feel you. Mason Lorwright in the awards category again, named to the Big Ten All Freshman team with some studs. Mackie Samoskevich, first round pick of the Florida Panthers last year. Luke Hughes, fourth overall pick of the New Jersey Devils, future absolute stud, brother of Jack and Quinn. Matthew Nyes, sadly a Maple Leafs prospect, an absolute beast, a really, really, really skilled, powerful skating winger in Minnesota. Mason Lorwright, of course. Georgi Merkulov from Ohio State, who I know zero about besides where he goes to school, his position, and his name. And Jakub Dobesh, I think it's pronounced, their goalie at Ohio State's had a really solid season, looking like a good undrafted free agent for a team that needs a goalie. Um, awesome. Mason Lorwright, potentially on the move in a Jacob Chikrin deal. I hope not. But
Mm-hmm.
man, he's looking like he's become a blue chip prospect for the Bruins. They got two of them, and Mason and him and Fabian Lysell. Fingers crossed they don't have to move him, but if they want Jacob Chikrin, they're probably going to have to. If they
I
don't
think
want
it
to give
makes
up
the most
Lysell in
sense.
turn,
Yeah.
we talked about that last week. If I had to give
Yep.
up one of them, um, in a deal, it's Mason Lorwright and a Jacob Chikrin deal.
Mm-hmm.
Trade deadline preview. We've had some stuff starting to happen, starting with Drew Hellison, a favorite of mine at BC, who I thought was going to be involved in a Claude Giroux deal, if you do remember, um, with the Flyers, who the Flyers did have interest in. We do have that confirmed. He went with a 2023 second round pick. We have heard that some teams value 2023 picks much more because it's supposed to be a better draft. Um, and the Avalanche do not have a second round pick this year. They traded in the Devin Tays trade last year for Josh Manson, 30-year-old defenseman, former Northeastern Husky, um, at 50% retained, pending UFA. Really nice pickup for Colorado. Love that move for them. I think Manson adds a mean defenseman, plays hard in front of the net, blocks shots, hits. Little bit of offense, not a ton. Love the pickup for Colorado. Great move. They made some cap space with the Tyson Jost trade as well. I think they're trying to load up for Claude Giroux or JT Miller. Probably not going to get JT Miller, but I think Claude Giroux ends up with either the Panthers or the Avalanche at this rate. Um, like we talked about, Tyson Jost for Nico Sturm. Frank Vetrano was traded to the Rangers earlier today. And another move that's probably freeing up space for Claude Giroux, just over 2.5 million to be exact, to the Rangers for the 2022 fourth round pick of the Winnipeg Jets that they have. Um, Tomas Hertl, unfortunately, staying in San Jose.
Was
Really
surprising to
sucks.
see that today.
Lost hope over the past month or so because it seemed like they were going towards an extension. The Sharks are dumb though. They have a lot of big contracts for old players. Tomas Hertl's a great piece to keep around, but it's a guy you could have, kept one of those bad contracts out of the mix, get some more young players in here. But they do have a decent rebuild going, so I kind of get it. They have some good guys like Ryan Merkley, Ozzy Weisblatt, William Eklund, John Leonard, who's ready for the NHL right now, and some other players, Danil Gushin as well. My guy Adam Rashka, if they want a fourth liner, love him. He plays like a psychopath. Love him from the World Juniors. Tomas Hertl signs for 8 years, $65.1 million, 8.1375 million per with the San Jose Sharks. Must really like it there. Must like the weather. Must like the hot women. Um,
All right.
Bruins, their moves are depth additions. They don't need to make a depth move at the deadline. They got two depth guys out of college players in Michael Callahan, who they recently traded a couple weeks ago for a 2024 seventh from the Coyotes. He signs. He's going to go to Providence. Mark McLaughlin, a guy I have been singing the praises of for a long time. Been watching him play hockey since he was like 8 or 10 years old against my brother. He's been a great player. He's one of those guys you could always tell was going to be a stud. He's a leader. They called him Captain Clutch at BC. He hits. He doesn't take a lot of penalties. Plays good defensively. Wins faceoffs. There really isn't much to dislike at all about Mark McLaughlin. He's from North Billerica, Massachusetts. Can't
I
believe you don't
recognize
know
the
him.
name, but
Now you
don't
know
know him,
him.
unfortunately. Yep. I
If you
will have
don't
to
know,
keep a
now you
close eye.
know.
Yep.
If you don't know, now you know. He's
Mhm.
going down to Providence. Good, get him some seasoning. I think they might give him a chance at some point on the fourth line. Can also play the wing as well as center. Not as much in the wing, but a lot of players just in general. If you need them to move to the wing, they can. Mark can easily do that. Great player. He's going to be a perfect Bruin 2-year entry level contract for both of these guys at $883,750. They don't need to make depth moves. This, if they were thinking of that, takes that completely off the board and takes
Mhm.
one need off the table that they didn't really need to begin with, but prospect depth always helps, especially
True.
when you have a guy in McLaughlin that's playing phenomenal. His teammate Jack McBain might be the next guy to go to the Montreal Canadiens. The signing rights to him are potentially going for a second round pick, which I think is a lot, but Jack McBain's a great player, had a great senior season. Think of it this way: he's a seventh round pick, third round pick. If they want a second round pick for him after such a good career, it's kind of reasonable. But if the Canadians like him enough, they have a lot of picks. They could decide to sign him and put him right into the lineup, and maybe as a third line center, um, maybe third line center of the future as well. Um, Other than that, the Bruins have a very serious offer from the sounds of it in on Jacob Chikrin. So do the LA Kings. The thing that hurts the Kings is the Western Conference. Maybe they want to trade Chikrin out east. The thing that helps them is they have the best prospect core in the NHL, which hurts the Bruins.
That's
Um,
yeah.
could help the Bruins in the long run if they don't trade for Chikrin and keep some awesome prospects, but Jacob Chikrin could also very much help the Bruins at the same time. It's a double-edged sword, as pure as a
Mhm.
double-edged sword situation comes. Um, it sounds like right now the Bruins and the Kings are the main two front runners. Jeff Merrick suggested that Columbus should be in on them. I agree, Jeff. You must listen to the podcast. Thanks for listening, pal.
Yep.
Maybe give me a job at Sportsnet. Elliot Friedman, you
Wouldn't be the
listening
worst thing.
too?
Yep.
Um, it sounds like Jacob Chikrin might be the guy, man. It sounds like he's their top guy. It doesn't sound like they're in on anyone else. They were
Mhm.
somewhat in on Ben Sherratt. He's gone, thankfully. Um,
Well, is Lindholm a name that I thought I heard come up the other
Lindholm has
day?
been
Or
linked to
today you
them.
were
That
talking? Yeah.
segues me into our next
Okay.
points.
Mhm.
Lindholm, potentially Ricard Raquel. I imagine they're looking at Ricard Raquel if they're talking about Lindholm.
I'd be down for that. Yep.
Jacob Middleton in San Jose.
Yep.
A guy with all
Recognize
these
that
big
name.
contracts, they could afford to move, just save a little bit of money. Some team could overpay for him, like the Bruins, might give up a second round, third round pick for him, something crazy like that. Um, so the thing
You got to
that
do
sucks with
something.
Lindholm, real quick,
Mhm.
is he wants to test the market more often than not. I think
Okay.
the
So
Bruins would
he's a
make a
rental
trade.
more so. Yeah.
Sweeney doesn't like rentals at this point.
No.
I don't think they make this trade unless Lindholm is agreeing to sign long term.
Mm-hmm. That would make
which
the
is
most
going to be
sense.
6 years, 6, 7 years at 6.5 per minimum, which is fairly reasonable.
Not
I
bad,
probably
yeah.
wouldn't go much over 7. I'd go like 7.25 max. Even that makes me really uneasy. I'd say Elias Lindholm, ideally, 6 years, 6.75. I think that's his most realistic
It's
market
not bad,
value.
yeah.
I would take it. I think if you're the Bruins, ideally for the logjam on the left side and/or salary cap, you move Mike Riley in that deal. But I don't know if they want to give up on him so quickly. I think Urho Vakanainen would be involved in this deal. I don't think it would take Lowry or Lysell unless you were to get Lindholm and Raquel. Even in that case, I don't think you give up Lowry or Lysell in that package. I don't think it's worth it. I think Chikrin might be, not
Mm-hmm.
Lysell. Um, just Lowry potentially, depending on the surrounding pieces. Jake DeBrusk, a guy that could be leveraged in a deal with Anaheim for either one of these players, could be leveraged in the Chikrin deal. Other than that, I don't see DeBrusk moving. It seems like they might be content keeping him despite his trade request. Just because, the agent, I think his name's something Valente, wants Jake DeBrusk to get traded, they will still want it. Doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean that the Bruins couldn't trade him at the draft, do a sign and trade situation at some point, and send him at the draft. So that is certainly possible. He won't make it past the draft, though. That's the deadline at this point. It doesn't seem like a sure thing that happens this year. He said DeBrusk's trade offer or request stays pat. Not that it has to happen before the deadline necessarily, unless I'm
Mm-hmm.
missing something there. I don't think I am though.
You don't think it
Are you
might
leaning towards
frustrate?
DeBrusk staying at this point? Are you thinking draft? Are you thinking deadline? Or any other thoughts you may have on the
My
deadline and the
one
approach to the
question
future?
my one question to you I was going to ask about DeBrusque is you don't think if he gets to the trade deadline, I don't know if he has it in his mind right now that he's going to be traded. Obviously, he
Probably
clear as
does.
day wants to be. Okay, so we have to assume that then. Um, if he sticks around past the trade deadline, we've talked about it before with DeBrusque, how it looks like at times he just kind of turns it off, dogs it out there, like he
If he's on
production
the
falls
first
off a
line, he
cliff.
won't. If he's on the first
Okay,
line, he won't.
all right.
His
I
agent
kind
won't
of was
let him.
leaning that way. That
His
yeah, that
agent
kind of
won't let
kills
him.
his trade value too. So
Kills his trade value, kills his
that's my one
value
worry.
on his next contract. At this
Hmm.
point, his agent, if he doesn't get traded at the deadline, is going to be like, Jake, you got to stick it out, dude. We got to do what's
Hmm.
best for both of us. You have your financial future. I have my financial future as your agent.
Hmm.
That's what they're going to do. That's
All
just
right.
a straight up fact. I can tell you that. Um, don't need to be an insider to tell you that. Just got to pay
All right.
attention to
Fair
these
enough.
things. But I thought the show was going to run longer, but it didn't. We kept it pretty succinct. We kept it
Oh, we
pretty
still have
clear.
Celtics.
We do have Celtics.
There
Whoops.
is one
Um,
one Celtics thing before you get on out of here,
I
because
it's
it's
cause the
something you
outline.
brought up to me. Yeah,
We
I
have
know we jumped
Celtics.
around.
We
Yeah.
have Celtics before in the outline, so I got mixed
Hmm.
up. My mistake.
Hmm. The
Shout out
green
to
is
Jack
tough to see too.
Malesko, our friend from Merrimack. He texted me after last week. Where's the Celtics talk? Where's the Celtics talk? And our
Hmm.
buddy Luke Caparel, spoiler, I
Asking the
think is
same thing.
going to be on the show ahead of the
Hmm.
playoffs to have
That would be
an
good.
old friend
It's always good
back
to have a third opinion.
after far too long. We miss our buddy Luke. Luke, we
Hmm.
love you if you're listening. Down in Pittsburgh, crushing it with the Pittsburgh Pirates. We'll have him back on. Um,
Hmm.
just for nostalgia, he knows a shit ton about the Celtics too. Don't got to
Hmm.
be an insider sometime to be on our podcast. You just got to be a friend sometimes. We've
Yep.
had friends on the
Just gotta know
podcast.
the right people.
Just got to know the right people, and Luke's a great,
Yep.
great
AKA the only two people
individual.
involved in the podcast.
Luke, I miss you. You got to come home soon if you
Yep.
can. I miss you dearly, buddy. Celtics though, to get right into it.
It's very interesting that you forgot about the Celtics because this is something you brought up to me on Twitter a couple days ago. Like this is your talking point. I'm like, oh, we can use this because we haven't talked Celtics in a while. And then the next day it seemed like Kendrick Perkins got on this, so maybe you kind of, I don't know, maybe you talked to Kendrick Perkins behind the scenes and put this in his mind. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I
You
did.
might have more connections than I thought you did.
Me and
But
Perk ball up on the weekends.
do you? Okay, so that would explain the
Then we
mindset
go
between the
back
two
to
of you then.
he has Dance Dance Revolution at his place, and we just have a dance
Oh,
party.
gotcha. All right, I could
Yeah.
definitely see Big Perk doing that. But no, well,
I'm
but
so fucking weird, man.
yeah.
Oh man,
Um,
voice crack.
No, but first of all, I mean, we haven't talked Celtics in a while. We probably haven't talked Celtics since the trade deadline, since, things were still kind of up in the air about this team. So to backtrack really quick, like, I think it's safe to say I was wrong about the Celtics team. I don't know if you were as down on them as I was. You were.
I
Okay.
was
Wasn't
not
gonna
quite, but I
speak
was
for
down.
you.
I was
Yep.
down.
So I think it's safe to say we were both wrong about the Celtics team because has obviously played incredibly well. They have made massive moves up the Eastern Conference to get into a playoff spot. They get out of the play-in game and hopefully they'll stay out of that. So give credit where credit's due there. And a big reason for that is this debate that has come up and this discussion that you have brought up, you and Perk I know talked about. Is should Jason Tatum be in the running for MVP of the league this year? You asked me this question, like I said a couple days ago on Twitter. Kendrick Perkins, the game after I think it was Tatum, put up 44 against the Nets, or not the Nets, excuse me. Put up 44 against Charlotte. He put up 54 the game before that against Brooklyn. Has been going on a scoring tear really since the first of the month. He asked or put the question out there, or the statement on Twitter rather, that Jason Tatum has played himself right into MVP consideration. The numbers that he's been putting up, along with willing his team to victories, has been right up there with the best of them. Carry the hell on, of course, as Perk likes to end his
I
tweets with.
think I'm not a huge fan of Perk, but I think the carry the
Mhm.
hell on thing is such a rock star move
I think it
because
is,
it's
yeah.
just
It's
it's
his
just meant to
signature
rile
thing.
people up because there are definitely people that hate it.
hmm
Um, but yeah,
Oh, Perk's a very opinionated
to
guy.
my points real quick, I really do
Mhm.
think Tatum should have a case. Will he
Mhm.
win it? No, but I think lower down in the pecking order of MVP candidates, maybe the 4 or 5 range.
Yeah, that's where
Um,
I'm at.
that's where he should be. I think
hmm
he will probably get a vote or two. I'm not gonna lie.
He
I think he
definitely
will get some
should.
votes
hmm
for the first place to win the MVP. But right now it's Joel Embiid for me. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, man, Tatum. So much of his career. What I was thinking about this when I texted you on Twitter.
hmm
Is he a leader? Can he step up in big games? Can he step up in big ways? He's doing a little bit of
All
all
those
of that.
questions have been
He's
answered.
the
Yep.
leader. He's not whining to the refs from what I've seen. I haven't watched the
Mhm.
Celtics super closely all the time, even though
Still
they've
is a
only lost.
little, but not as much as
They are
before.
4-1 in games I've watched. I've only watched 5 games over the past month and a half, so um, I try to watch them when I can, but sometimes I just
hmm
can't. I am going to watch a little bit tonight, though.
hmm
Um, they do
Should be
start
a
at
good
10
game in
o'clock
Golden State. Yep.
against Golden State. Tough one. Um,
hmm
but yeah, I mean, Jason Tatum, man, he's showing that bulldog mentality. He's being a leader. Jalen Brown is falling right into place where he needs to be as his second fiddle. You know, I haven't watched a ton of games recently, so I don't know how Derek White's doing. Marcus Smart,
hmm
everybody, but Rob Williams seems to still be having a great year. And
I
Tatum
think
is
that should.
elevating this team. I imagine Tatum is, it's translating to the locker room as well, and it's great stuff. Great stuff,
hmm
man.
The thing I was going to say about Rob Williams, obviously I don't have it in the outline. It's coming up more and more on Twitter and more in discussions. Is the fact that, and I think a guy like Rob Williams and even Marcus Smart have more of a chance of winning Defensive Player of the Year than Tatum has at MVP. Because, like you said, there are guys like it. Embiid is my pick as well. And then when you asked me this, if Jason Tatum had a shot, I told you he probably should. And the more I think about it, if the Celtics can continue to, like I said, to rise up the Eastern Conference, then I think Tatum will make more and more of a case for himself. But the thing that kills him is the fact of how bad the start the Celtics got off to. And like you said, there were those
Yeah.
questions of can he be a leader? Can he play with Jalen Brown? Are the Celtics going to have to break that duo up? Like, Embiid's been consistent all season. Jokic has pretty much carried Denver out in the West. They're the 6th seed right now, but he leads pretty much in every statistical category in the NBA. Giannis's name has come up for what he's done in Brooklyn, in Milwaukee. Tatum is right there with him, like from a Celtics team standpoint. Like without Jason Tatum right now and how he's played the last month and a half, 2 months of the year, like I don't know where the Celtics team would be. He's at times, like Perk said, carried this team. Like that Brooklyn game, dropping 54, going right up there with back and forth with Durant. He went back and forth with LaMelo Ball in that Charlotte game. I'm blanking on Memphis's stud, Ja
John
Morant.
Morant.
They went back and forth in that game at times. So like he's struggled a little bit in the game on Sunday. Obviously now he's gonna have to work out of
Ooh.
getting a team to start to double him. But
Oh
yeah, I
boy.
think Tatum should be right up there. What's going on?
We are getting crispy in the Bruins game. Marshall just got pulled by his neck by the jersey by Matt
And he,
Dumba, who Matt
let's
Dumba
see the
bloodied
replay.
Lucas Raymond's head recently in a fight. So Matt Dumba's being a bit of a prick lately. Jordan Greenway, I don't know if that's the guy you want to mess with,
Ooh,
Marchand. Jordan Greenway is an absolute
yeah,
tower. But they're getting chippy
that's a little
here.
iffy.
There's
Yeah,
been a lot of chippiness in this game.
it has been. I feel like every time I
Probably
look
dating
up, the
back to the
referees are pulling
Kaprizov stuff,
guys.
the
Well,
whole
yeah,
Kaprizov thing. So
yep.
Get
But
them
yeah,
away from Swayman. Don't hurt
yeah.
my
Just
dear boy.
I can see why Greenway
Don't
went
hurt my
after
dear
Marchand.
boy.
He kind of gave him a stick in the
Good on
privates,
Nosek
kind
to
of
get
going
in
for a
there.
block. Yep.
Nosek playing up in the lineup,
Yep.
We didn't even
But
mention
yeah,
that.
just
Tomas Nosek's on the first
I
line
know on
tonight
the
for
first
anybody
line,
to know.
that's scary to think of
Bergeron's out with
that.
an arm infection stemming back
Hmm
from an old injury. We didn't even mention that.
hmm
But I assume most people probably knew that.
Yeah. But yeah, just on the closing stuff and the Tatum stuff, again, like to echo the point I made earlier, like I think again, if he can continue to, the Celtics can continue to rise up the Eastern Conference, and I think you definitely have a case for him to maybe sneak past a guy like Jokic or Giannis. The guy I think that should be getting more MVP consideration that really I haven't heard from at all is DeMar DeRozan. Like what he's doing right now
Yeah,
with Miami. I mean, he's been phenomenal for them. That might have
not
been the best move
Miami,
of the
Chicago.
offseason. Or Chicago, thank you. I don't know. I've got him in the other point guard. I'm drawing a blank on names here that used to
Jimmy
play for
Butler.
Toronto.
Oh,
No,
Kyle Lowry.
Kyle Lowry. Thank you. I got him mixed up with going to Miami, but I think
I'm the
I mean, he's
basketball guy.
carried
Let's
Chicago at times.
go.
I know. Look at that. But no, I think Tatum has a legitimate shot. Like I said, if he can continue to play, he has. Then the Celtics are going to be in great shape, and he definitely should. But right now, I mean, you look at what Joel Embiid's done. His stats are off the charts. He pretty much carried that Philadelphia. As much as we don't like the 76ers and we don't like Joel Embiid, like it goes
Or
without
James
saying.
Harden.
Or James, but that was going to be my point. Is it was that 76ers team was basically Joel Embiid to start the year. Like obviously with no Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris has had an up and down season. They didn't have Harden until obviously the trade deadline. Now it's still gotten, and maybe that'll hurt Embiid's case. It's gotten a little bit of a little easier now with James Harden there. But he pretty much put that team on his shoulders the first 2.5 months of the season. Like so, it's right now. Like I said, I know Jokic's stats are better. It's Embiid's award to lose. He's been phenomenal this year. But like I said, if Tatum can continue to play, he has, then maybe he makes a run and maybe he gets up there, finishes 2, 3, 4 in that range somewhere. But he's the start got off too poorly. That's the one thing. Like I told you off air,
Yeah,
like I'm saying now,
that's the thing
that's
that
the one thing
hurts
that
him.
hurts him. Yep.
But if he keeps dropping like 30s, 40s, 50s, and stuff like that very
Mm-hmm.
consistently, whatever for rebounds and assists, something solid around
Yep.
those ranges for good production for a guy like him,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that may be,
Yep.
and they finish a top 3 seed, he's got a little stronger case,
Could
but it's still going to be
absolutely.
Jokic or
Yep.
Embiid. I don't think it'll be
Mm-hmm.
Giannis. I don't think it'll be Tatum. I don't think it'll be DeRozan. I don't
No,
think it'd be anyone else. Maybe
it's
anyone
mind
else
blowing.
that could
DeRozan's not
sneak in.
getting. Not that I
What about
can
Luka
think. I mean,
Doncic,
the only other name I can really think of. I mean,
John
Steph got
Morant,
off to a hot start.
Steph?
Yeah, maybe John Morant if he can, if Memphis,
That
depending
would
on
be
where they end
awesome.
up.
I
But
love him.
I
Love
think
him.
Morant's gonna win an MVP within the next couple years. This has been his. I mean, he had a great year last year, but this is his really
A
true
Murray
breakout
State guy
year.
just
But
tearing it up. Never
yep,
thought I'd see it.
the one
Because
thing
I didn't
Tatum
know
does
Murray
have
State existed until he went there.
until that, yeah, until him. But I was gonna say real quick, the last point I was gonna make. The one thing to help Tatum's case is if you wanted to, you mentioned, if he continued to drop 40 bombs and 50 bombs, he has two 50-point games this year. The combination of Embiid, Giannis, and Jokic, they have won between the three of them. Embiid had a 50-point game against Orlando back on the 19th of January. So if for some reason the award voters are going off of 50-point games, then Jason Tatum is your MVP of the NBA. But I think there's a little bit more that goes into it. Like I said, team performance and all that stuff and just consistency. So unfortunately, Tatum is probably not going to get it this year. Like I said, though, Smart and Williams making a case for Defensive Player of the Year is something that I would keep my eye on and see if they can maybe pull that. I know Marcus Smart's been high on trying to win Defensive Player of the Year and
Yeah.
saying like the guard should be in the running for that. I think they
Mhm.
should be too. We'll see if they can keep it up and maybe make a better case than Tatum for MVP.
Real shocker
But
here. Apparently, Matt Ioannidis' agent in Washington said that the Washington football team lied to them. Crazy that the worst owner in
oh
sports
wow,
would do
yeah.
that. Do we want to run through our Final Fours and our national championship winners real quick for fun?
Oh, do I gotta pull that up and try to find it?
I'll roll through mine real quick.
Yeah, see
We'll
if you can.
do Elite Eight on
Okay.
just for fun. Even though this is like hard to read and I can't totally.
I gotta
Okay.
pull that up somewhere now.
For my Elite Eight, I have Baylor, Kentucky, Kansas, Auburn, Gonzaga, Duke, Arizona, Tennessee. Tennessee, the lowest seed is a 3 seed. Super original, I know. Um,
That's
then my Final Four, I have Gonzaga, Baylor, Arizona, Kansas, all 1 seeds because I'm boring. I just go with my gut, guys. One upset I'll just throw out there. Go Chattanooga. I think they beat Illinois just because their name is Chattanooga. Only the name. Um, for a points bracket, you get a point for each point, rebound, steal, um, assist, or block. I have Oscar Tshiebwe from Kentucky, um, Azuolas Tubelis from Arizona, EJ Liddell from Ohio State, Zach Edey from Purdue, who's 7'4", JD Notae from Arkansas, and David Roddy from Colorado State. Liking my team, getting David Roddy in the last round was awesome. My national champion is Kansas over Baylor, 73-70 in the final.
Okay. I think I'm trying to pull this up. I think I have it here. So, oh crap, I just effed it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so my Elite 8, I think the way of looking at this, I have. Oh, maybe not. No, I do. Sorry, I'm losing it here. I have Gonzaga over. I might be a round beforehand, but whatever. I have Gonzaga over 13 seed Vermont. I have them kind of as an upset Cinderella story going through. Texas Tech over Duke, setting up a Gonzaga Duke semifinal out west with Gonzaga winning that. And then in the South, I guess, depending on how you look at it, Arizona over Houston, or Villanova over Tennessee, setting up a Villanova and Arizona Final Four matchup in the South with Villanova taking that. I have Gonzaga as the 1 seed. I know, very original. Over Villanova for the
Villanova.
Villanova, yeah. Again, losing it. Tried to pull this up last second. This is what happens when we drop things that aren't in the outline on your last second. I have Gonzaga over Villanova, 78-70 in the championship bracket. My final, I completely messed that up. I was just looking at brackets, so or just completely all over the place. How the hell did they do this? I have Gonzaga over Duke, Villanova over Arizona. I missed the bottom of this bracket. UCLA over Kentucky, Kansas over Auburn.
Whoa.
And then Gonzaga over UCLA and Villanova over Kansas. Setting up a Gonzaga and Villanova final with Gonzaga winning 78-70. Massive brain fart at the end of the show.
That's okay.
Yeah.
I'm just picking Kansas because it
Just
felt right.
cut that completely.
I think Kentucky's going to win it, though. I kind of feel like Kentucky's going to do it. They're stacked this year. That Tshiebwe kid averages a 20 and 20 a game, something like that.
That's ridiculous.
He's like
I haven't followed
22
college
years old,
basketball at
too.
all this year, so I've
been doing a little bit of research lately. Keegan Murray in Iowa is a great player to watch, I've heard. Johnny Davis, Wisconsin. Just some players. Jabari Smith, Auburn, if they get far enough. He's supposed to be the number 1 overall pick, potentially. But I'm not a college basketball expert. I've heard awesome things about JD
I
Notae,
definitely am not after that
as
debacle.
well. But need Arkansas to go far. Need Colorado State to go far for David Roddy. Guy averages 19 points a game. That's why I took him. But yeah, March Madness is fucking awesome. I can't wait. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for the show today. As we're just about to hit 2 hours and 3 minutes. Thought we were definitely hitting 2.5 hours minimum today. But we kept it nice and succinct, packed in for you. You can follow us on Twitter at Ryan_Salvaggio, at Mike_Cratty, at Sal and Cratty Pod. You can follow us on TikTok, Salvaggio and Cratty. Throw that in the search bar. We've been doing some numbies today, a little low-end numbies. Ryan's killing it with the baseball content as usual when he posts. Those do really well. Go check those out. You can follow us on Twitch, the Full Press Coverage YouTube channel, as well. Both of those, Full Press Coverage, Twitch and YouTube. You can follow any of the Full Press Twitter accounts, download the Full Press Coverage app, Megaphone app, Megaphone website, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, Google Podcasts, bunch of different crap. Still haven't checked if we have done Amazon iHeartRadio. I always forget, but go check those out if you have those available for you. You use them. Definitely go take a look there. Keep listening. Keep watching live if you're listening and you haven't watched live. Check out our Twitters, as I mentioned. You can watch us live, ask comments and ask questions in the comments. And until next week, hopefully we'll have some good Patriots and Bruins stuff to talk about because the deadline will be passed. Hopefully the Patriots make some moves. Maybe the Red Sox do some stuff too. We'll talk to you then. Be safe, stay healthy, be nice to people, all that stuff. Enjoy March Madness and all the wonderful things your life may have to offer you. And we'll talk to you next week. Peace.